Chapter 3565. Human-shaped statues. The human-shaped statues on the high platform had no reaction from the moment Jian Wushuang stepped onto the high platform. According to the Star Thunder ruler, these human-shaped statues will only wake up when you try to leave the high platform. They will not wake up completely in the beginning. Only one or two will wake up. But even if it's just a human-shaped statue, it will crush the Star Thunder ruler in the beginning. If the Star Thunder ruler is right, and the human-shaped sculpture is so powerful, then the human-shaped sculpture array is too terrifying. Jian Wushuang frowned. In any case, I have to try it myself. Besides, the Star Thunder ruler said that the human-shaped sculpture array is just a test. It won't kill you directly in the beginning. It will only kill you when the time comes. Thinking of this, Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and took out his shadow sword. Then he slowly walked out of the high platform. Jian Wushuang had only taken 2 steps. Buzz! The high platform suddenly shook. Then, Jian Wushuang saw a human-shaped sculpture in front of him shake a little, and a lot of dust scattered. The human-shaped sculpture slowly moved. At the same time, the eyes of the human-shaped statue opened directly. These eyes were emotionless and without any intelligence. After opening them, they directly aimed at Jian Wushuang. Let's try. Jian Wushuang clenched his teeth and immediately used his life magic power. His body turned into lightning and suddenly shot out. The moment he moved, the awakened human-shaped statue also moved. It took a series of steps, each step easily crossing hundreds of feet. In a flash, it appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. At the same time, the ancient dark black longsword in his hand also slashed down. Having cleaving skill, no rest until death. Jian Wushuang knew how terrifying the human-shaped statue was, so he did not dare to underestimate it. As soon as he attacked, he unleashed his strongest battle strength. Not only did he use the heaven-cleaving skill, but he also used his strongest skill, no rest until death. Swoosh! The sword light with endless destructive will, accompanied by endless hatred, slashed out directly. In the blink of an eye, the sword light collided with the dark black longsword of the human-shaped statue. Clang! With a loud sound, Jian Wushuang's arm shook slightly, and his whole body shot out like a cannonball. He did not stop until he returned to the center of the high platform, which was the corpse of the Star Thunder ruler. Seeing Jian Wushuang return here, the human-shaped statue returned to where it had been standing before, and its eyes were closed. Jian Wushuang was not frightened by the strength displayed by the human-shaped statue. Instead, he was surprised. What's going on? Didn't the Star Thunder ruler say that the human-shaped statue was enough to crush him? However, although the human-shaped statue is very powerful and can crush me, its battle strength is still at the level of a principal's master. And it hasn't reached the pinnacle of a principal's master. But a principal's master at the pinnacle of the 6th realm? Jian Wushuang's expression was strange, however. He immediately thought of a possibility. Could it be that the human-shaped sculpture array is based on the strength of the cultivator trapped in the middle of the high platform? The Star Thunder ruler is a ruler realm expert, so these human-shaped sculptures display the battle strength of a ruler. Although I have the battle strength of a principal's master, I'm only an immortal saint. So what these human-shaped sculptures display is the battle strength of a principal's master? Jian Wushuang thought of this possibility, which seemed very likely to him. Let's try again. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate to try again. This time, although he activated his life divine power, he did not use the heaven-cleaving skill. The battle strength he released was only in the initial stage of the 6th realm, but he still used his strongest move. The result
I have made
was
great
that
progress
he was
in
defeated again,
swordsmanship,
the same result
but I am
as
only
before.
on par with this
However,
human-shaped
after this
sculpture.
attempt,
I am even
Jian
slightly
Wushuang's eyes
inferior.
lit up. Jian
As
Wushuang
expected,
sighed
as
in his
expected.
heart.
In
This
the past
human-shaped sculpture array
1,800
is a
years,
test. He had
this
fought with
test
this
is determined
human-shaped
by the
sculpture
strength
many
of the
times.
cultivator.
As he
To be
fought,
exact,
he
it depends
realized
on
that
the
this
power of the
human-shaped sculpture
cultivator.
did not only know
When I used the
swordsmanship,
heaven-cleaving skill,
but also
the
swordsmanship
power I
and all other
displayed was at the
aspects.
pinnacle of the
It was
6th
extremely
realm.
terrifying
So the
among
power
the top
displayed
tier
by the
6th level
human-shaped
absolute
sculpture
arts. was also at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. He was completely crushed by this human-shaped sculpture. When I didn't use the heaven-cleaving using all of his skills at the displayed by the human-shaped sculpture, as he fought and observed it over and over again, of the sixth he also realm. Gained some insights into swordsmanship by the human-shaped sculpture. His swordsmanship was only at the initial stage of the after 1,800 years. The power is exactly the same. Had indeed even the power tremendously. Of the supreme treasure in terms of swordsmanship alone. Other than the difference is the beginning. He had created a total of 3 sword techniques he had just had with the humanoid techniques were all during the 2 collisions ultimate techniques. The swordsmanship displayed by the humanoid ultimate techniques. The power of the swordsmanship was extremely powerful. There was also the deadly attack, even more powerful in the past 1,800 years that he had created. He had improved according to the information left by the Star Thunder Ruler. Now he could rely on this move to fight head-on with the humanoid sculpture over the past tens of millions of years. He would not be at a disadvantage. The progress is mainly in his staff skills. It could be said that his sword techniques had improved too much. It should be the strongest ultimate skill that he created. He could not gain the slightest advantage in this fierce battle with the humanoid sculpture formation. He could not even break through the obstruction of the own first humanoid sculpture. As for other powers or other methods, 17 humanoid sculptures that had yet to make a move. Eyes were shining. My swordsmanship has already improved greatly. Displayed by the human-shaped sculpture. The few sword techniques I created should have reached the peak of tier 6 ultimate art. Deadly one. But they still can't break through the obstruction of this human-shaped absolute art. It seems that if I want to break through the obstruction of the sculpture, to the absolute art I must create the strongest ultimate art. So he could win the head-on collision with the human-shaped sculpture. This human-shaped sculpture doesn't know how to use it. He would not be repelled by the human-shaped sculpture. So I have no way to observe and experience. Instead, he could repent I can only slowly comprehend it myself, and then he could naturally leave the high platform. My comprehension of sword principle there was not only one human-shaped sculpture, and I have created the 4 strongest absolute arts of the peak of the 6 If all the absolute arts displayed by the 18 were like the strongest absolute then even if Jian Wuxia created a more powerful absolute took a deep breath at the peak of level with his legs than the human-shaped sculpture. Soon he closed his eyes. He would still be unable to break through without any reference or observation. At the very least, create the strongest he had to create an ultimate skill by evolving and simulating them the strongest in the depths ultimate of his skill. Only when he had a rough model of swordsmanship in his mind with a fierce could he try to follow it. When he was in the divine the most important thing for him now was the evolution of swordsmanship. Perform the strongest from that day on, skill with his own Jian Wuxia did not fight was with the human-shaped sculpture. Demon Master Chen instead had also put an endless effort to reach the high platform without moving at all. Now he was still very far from all kinds of swordsmanship appeared in his mind. If this little fellow is already combining and evolving to form new sword techniques, he might have a chance to make it through in 10 million years. Unfortunately, Chapter 35 when he entered this formation, the most powerful ultimate skill, Starfire Burning that the immortal saint another 1,200 years formation in a flash. Jian or even hundreds of times more in this high platform than that of a ruler realm cultivator, including the 1,800 years. It is indeed inconceivable for an immortal during saint the 1,200 years. Absolute art. Jian Wuxia did not move at all. When this little fellow entered cross-legged and thinking about various sword techniques, he already created a peak. It was not until this moment that he slowly opened his eyes. Point is already very high. It's about time. So there might be evolution of swordsmanship in my mind. The first consciousness said, then the final sword move that I have evolved. Maybe, but do you think he can reach the level of the strongest? The second consciousness snorted. Now I can only keep the first consciousness hesitated for a moment. Jian Wuxia took a deep bitterly. Then he stood up. Don't forget, he glanced at the motionless humanoid sculpture with its eyes closed. It can be said that we are in the barren land of the vast universe. He directly rushed out. The cultivators born in this barren land, the human-shaped statue immediately woke up born in the rushed forward with the dark black longsword in its hand. Comprehension. The two of them met head-on on the high platform. Master had such a great reputation and power, directly used in the deepest part of the universe head-on. He had rushed to the space and time out of Jian Wuxia's mouth, and there were countless people who deliberately hand to challenge the 18 ultimate formation. It was extremely violent and swift. 3 people were able to pass. The human-shaped statue also slashed out its dark black in the universe. The 2 sword shadows collided head-on. To be the most incredible geniuses. A low sound of collision rang out. They became powerful forces one after another. But the human-shaped were the most terrifyingly powerful to be unable to withstand. However, 2 of them passed the test back at the Rulric level, as expected, while the other was the principal's master. Jian Wuxia this little fellow is merely an immortal saint. He had just displayed was the sword this little fellow that had evolved in his born in a barren land 1,200 is even more monstrous than the 3 decision-making geniuses. Swordsmanship could reach the level of the strongest absolute art. Even however, this little guy has just evolved level life form and had not really tried to practice it, only an innate it was naturally impossible even for him he has endless to directly reach the level of the strongest absolute art. However,
the second consciousness
it was
said,
still much stronger
"You're right."
than the average
The first
peak level
consciousness
6
nodded,
absolute art.
obviously
Therefore,
agreeing with this
he
point.
had gained the upper
In their
hand
opinion,
when he fought
not
head-on
to
with
mention
the
this
human-shaped
barren land at
sculpture.
the edge of the
This was
universe.
the first time
Even
that
if there were
Jian
super
Wuxuang
geniuses
had
from
gained
all
the upper
corners
hand
of
in
the
the
universe
collision
in
with
the
the
deepest
human-shaped
parts of the
sculpture.
universe,
After being
there
trapped on the
probably
high
would not be a
platform
super
for so many
monster
years,
who could
I
break
have just
through the
evolved
18
and now I have
absolute
such
arrays
power
at the level of
it
the
proves
immortal
that my
saint.
evolution is
Third
not wrong.
brother.
If
Next,
you have time
I
to
just
pay
need to keep
attention to that
practicing.
little fellow, Jian
Why don't you
Wuxuang's eyes
sleep
were
well
shining
and recover from
again.
your injuries?
He immediately
We followed
rushed
our
toward
master
the
in
human-shaped
battle
sculpture
and have been
again
down and out
and
since
chose
then.
to fight head-on.
But you probably
Bang.
don't want to continue
It was
like
another
this,
confrontation.
right? Only by
Jian
doing our
Wuxuang
best to
used the
recover
same
can
sword
we get
move.
out of this predicament.
But the power of
as
the
soon
sword
as possible.
move was obviously a little
The
stronger
second
than the
consciousness
previous
said,
one.
Understood.
And it had a greater
The
advantage
first
in the
consciousness
collision with
nodded
the human-shaped
and immediately
sculpture.
fell silent.
Haha, continue.
The two consciousnesses
Jian Wuxuang's
quickly fell
face was
into
full
a
of
deep
smiles
sleep again.
as he rushed
The
forward
deepest
to
part
meet
of this
the
vast
human-shaped
space-time
sculpture
was
head-on
once again
again
completely
and again.
silent.
He attacked
Not a
again
single
and
sound
again,
could be heard,
displaying the swordsmanship that had
Chapter
evolved over
3567.
1,200 years.
Evolution
During
of
this
sword
practice,
techniques, the vast
the power of
universe
the
was vast
swordsmanship
and
had been
boundless.
increasing.
The territory
first,
where the
he
divine
only had a
beginning
slight
realm
advantage
was
in the
located
head-on
did
collision
indeed
with the
belong to the
human-shaped
edge of the
sculpture.
universe.
But gradually,
It could also be said
the
that it was a
advantage grew
barren
until
land
it
of
was
the
completely
universe.
crushed.
However,
Every
the
head-on
universe
collision
had its own laws.
The human-shaped
Although this
sculpture
territory
was almost
did not
pushed
have
back
such
by
excellent
him by hundreds
cultivation
of feet,
conditions
until
as
the
those in the depths of the
171st
universe.
collision between
It had
Jian
3 great
Wuxuang
battlefields
and the
filled with
human-shaped
endless
sculpture.
opportunities.
It's like a
For a
volcano
long
that has
time,
been dormant for many
experts from
years
various
suddenly
forces
erupting.
in the astral
The
world
most
of this
important part of my
territory
sword
had
attack
competed to
is the
explore these 3
instantaneous
battlefields.
explosive power.
Jian Wuxuang was now in a
Instantaneous
special
explosive
space-time
power.
in the unknown
Jian
region
Wuxuang's
deep in
eyes
Devil
flashed
Smoke
with a
Valley.
fierce light,
Because this
and the
place
shadow
was an
divine
unknown
sword in
region.
his hand
No
emitted
one
a
knew
faint
about
purple
it,
cold light,
and no one would be
in an
able to
instant
find
he
it.
flashed out.
When Jian Wuxuang was
The
trapped
sword
in
shadow
this special
swept across
space-time,
the air.
he was
But in the
completely
process,
cut off from the
it
outside
seemed to
world.
form a burning
He
purple
could only
flame
explore the
and
human-shaped
instantly covered
sculpture
the
array day
human-shaped
after day.
sculpture.
Trying
After
his
all,
best to
the
improve his
human-shaped
swordsmanship
sculpture had no
to improve
intelligence
his absolute
and was
art.
only blindly
Time
using
passed by
sword
quickly,
skills to resist.
and 1,800
However,
years
when the
passed
two
in a
sword
flash.
lights collided,
1,800
the purple flame
years was a
contained an
long time
earth-shaking
for
power.
Jian Wuxuang in this
It was
life.
like a volcano
But
that
for
had
many
been silent
cultivators
for
in the
hundreds
universe,
of millions of
it was
years,
very short,
suddenly exploded,
almost in the blink of
and
an
destroyed
eye.
the world
In
in
addition,
an instant.
1,800
A violent
years
explosion
was a
was
long
heard,
time compared
and the
to the
surrounding
tens of
void
millions
faintly
of years
trembled
of the
The
human-shaped
human-shaped
sculpture
sculpture
array
had been
on the high
completely
platform.
swallowed by the
Jian
terrifying
Wuxuang's
power
eyes were like
that
lightning,
erupted from the
and he
shadow
was still
divine
fighting
sword.
with the human-shaped
Whoosh,
sculpture
like
with
a
the shadow
meteor.
divine
The
sword in his
human-shaped
hand.
sculpture was
However,
completely
unlike
blown
before,
away.
he
and
did not show
directly
any
flew
power
out
at
of the
all.
high platform.
He did not use
However,
the power of
because
several
of the
wills he had
material of the
mastered,
human-shaped
including
sculpture,
some secret
Jian
skills,
Wuxuang's
and
sword
the power
attack
of the
did not
blood
really
crystal
cause
armor.
any damage to
He
it.
knew that these powers
However,
would have no
the
effect
result
on
of
him
sending
breaking
the
out of the
human-shaped
array.
statue out
No
of the
matter
high
how much
platform
power he showed,
was already a
even if
pleasant
he showed the
surprise
power
to Jian
of a ruler.
Wuxuang.
The
The
most
humanoid
powerful
sculpture
ultimate
would show
skill
the
has
same
been
power
achieved.
as him.
Jian
Therefore,
Wuxuang clenched
he
his
simply
hands,
relied on his
eyes
basic
filled
divine
with
power to
inconcealable
fight with the
ecstasy.
humanoid sculpture.
The moment he sent
The
the
difference was
human-shaped
his swordsmanship
statue out of the high platform,
compared to
he
1,800
knew that
years
the power
ago.
of his sword
Jian
attack
Wuxuang's
had indeed
swordsmanship had
reached the
improved
level
greatly.
of the most powerful
Whoosh,
ultimate skill.
a ghostly purple
After
phantom,
1,800
like an
years
extremely
of
agile
refining
purple
and
demonic
upgrading his
beast,
swordsmanship,
jumped down
and
from
then
above and
1,000
slashed
years of
toward the
evolution,
shoulder of the
he
humanoid
finally
sculpture.
created his most
Level 6
powerful
pinnacle
ultimate
absolute
skill.
art purple
He had
charm.
already thought of the
The
name
humanoid
of the sculpture
sculpture simply
skill.
moved
When this
and easily
swordsmanship is
avoided the
performed,
purple phantom.
it's like a sky
At the
full
same
of sparks
time,
devouring
the dark
everything.
black longsword
Its
in his
name
hand
should be
quickly
Starfire
slashed
Burning
down
Sun.
like a black lightning
Jian
bolt.
Wuxuang said with
Jian
a smile,
Wuxuang had been
the
prepared
most
for
powerful
this.
absolute
A
art
wave of
created by
destructive
Jian
will
Wuxuang
suddenly swept
Starfire
up
Burning
and
Sun
burst
was
out
born.
with a deadly hatred.
When Jian
An
Wuxuang
absolute
created
art at the
Starfire
peak of
Burning
level
Sun
6 deadly,
and sent the human-shaped
bang,
sculpture
a low
flying out of
collision
the high
sound was
platform,
heard.
Jian
The first
Wuxuang
consciousness
and the
woke up
human-shaped
again in the
sculpture both
deepest part of
retreated.
this special
However,
space-time.
The moment
he created
Jian
the most
Wuxuang
powerful
steadied
level
himself.
6 absolute
The
art
absolute
in just
shadow
3,000
divine sword
years.
in his hand,
He's quite
strangely
capable.
pierced like a meteor
The
phantom.
consciousness could not
It
help but
pierced
praise him
directly
at
into the
first.
chest of the
But then he
human-shaped
said,
statue.
but he has
And a
already
terrifying
created a
strangling
top-tier
power
skill of the
suddenly
6th
erupted
rank when he
The
arrived.
6th stage pinnacle
So his
skill
starting
sword
point is
rainbow.
quite high.
However,
It's not too
the
shocking
sword
for
was
him
still
to create
blocked
the
by the
strongest
human
skill
shape
of the
statue.
6th rank in
Whoosh,
3,000
whoosh,
years.
whoosh,
Moreover,
whoosh,
the immortal saint
whoosh.
can't just
One
create
after
the strongest
another.
skill of the
Sword
6th
lights and
rank
sword
to
shadows
pass the
lit up
18
in the
skill
void on the
formation.
high platform.
He is still
And
far
the
from
terrifying
passing the
sword
18
essence
skill
filled the
formation.
entire high platform.
With that, the
Jian
consciousness went
Wuxuang
silent
displayed
again.
his swordsmanship
Of course,
to the fullest.
Jian
The
Wuxuang did not
human-shaped
know the
sculpture did
existence
not
of this
emit any
consciousness
aura.
at all. But it could
Nor
still
did he know
easily
how
deal
it
with
evaluated
Jian
him.
Wuxuang's
He was
swordsmanship.
only happy and
In the
surprised
blink
at
of
his
an eye,
breakthrough in
Jian
swordsmanship.
Wuxuang fought
At the
fiercely
same
with the
time,
human-shaped
he began
sculpture
to
for
look
an
forward
hour
to the
before finally
human-shaped
stopping.
sculpture array.
Jian
I have
Wuxuang
created
returned
the
to the
most
center
powerful
of the
skill
high
of the
platform.
sixth realm.
After he returned,
A single
Jian
human-shaped
Wuxuang
sculpture
took a
is
deep
no
look
longer
at the
a threat to me.
human-shaped sculpture that
But I
had
wonder
closed
if I
its
can
eyes
break
again
out of this high
and let out a
platform
long
now.
sigh in his heart.
Taking a deep breath,
1,800
Jian Wuxuang
years.
arrived at the
I have
central
studied
area of the high
swordsmanship for
platform in the next
1,800
moment.
years. Chapter 3569. 6 human-shaped sculptures. Previously, Jian Wuxuang had only tried to rush out of the high platform. As soon as he moved, the human-shaped sculpture closest to him would wake up and stop him. He had been unable to break through just one human-shaped sculpture. Naturally, the other human-shaped sculptures did not wake up. But now, the humanoid statue had been thrown out of the high platform. He had successfully arrived at the middle of the high platform. When he arrived here, a total of 5 humanoid statues around the high platform opened their eyes at the same time, including the one that had been thrown out of the high platform by Jian Wuxuang. A total of 6 humanoid statues moved to kill him at the same time. Only 6. Jian Wuxuang frowned. He thought that he had created the most powerful skill and broken through the first human-shaped statue, so the next 17 statues should all wake up. However, only 6 of them attacked. Only 1/3 of them. The remaining 12 statues still did not move. Can 6 human-shaped sculptures stop me? Jian Wuxuang's expression was cold. After all, there was a huge gap between an absolute art at the peak of the 6th rank and the most powerful absolute art at the 6th rank. The difference in the power of the absolute art was more than 10 times. This meant that Jian Wuxuang could easily crush any human-shaped sculpture. However, if 6 of them joined hands, he could still crush them with the Starfire Burning Sun move. Soon Jian Wuxuang made his move. Boom! The power burst out. Jian Wuxuang's shadow sword emitted a faint purple cold light and slashed out in an instant. The sword shadow swept out, forming a raging purple flame that covered the 6 human-shaped sculptures in front of him. The 6 human-shaped sculptures immediately made their moves. They stood in front of Jian Wuxuang and attacked together. The posture and power of the 6 human-shaped sculptures were exactly the same. It was exactly the same as the swordsmanship of the human-shaped statue that Jian Wuxuang had been fighting for 3,000 years. The swordsmanship was only at the peak of stage 6. However, after the 6 human-shaped statues displayed their swordsmanship, an incredible scene appeared. The 6 human-shaped statues displayed their swordsmanship individually, but after they displayed their swordsmanship, the swordsmanship of the 6 human-shaped statues immediately formed a whole. As if their swordsmanship was a whole, the 6 sword shadows also completely merged into one, instantly forming an incredible sword shadow that slashed toward Jian Wuxuang. Boom! The sword shadow swept through the battle, as if it was a piece of dried twigs. The burning purple flames that covered the entire sky disappeared in an instant, and Jian Wuxuang's sword move completely disintegrated. The power of the sword shadow was still applied to Jian Wuxuang. Jian Wuxuang only felt an incredible power rushing toward him, instantly pushing him back to the starting point, which was the center of the high platform. After returning to this place, the 6 human-shaped sculptures immediately stopped and returned to where they were standing and closed their eyes again. However, at this moment, Jian Wuxuang's mind was in a daze. How could this be? Jian Wuxuang's face was full of disbelief. After all, he had created the most powerful skill of the 6th stage. His Starfire Burning Sun move was obviously much more powerful than the swordsmanship displayed by the human-shaped sculptures. Even more than 10 times, however, when the 6 human-shaped sculptures joined hands and displayed the same swordsmanship, they actually merged together and completely crushed him. A formation. These human-shaped sculptures use a special formation. Jian Wuxuang narrowed his eyes slightly. He could see that these human-shaped sculptures combined their swordsmanship with a special formation to form a whole. After forming a whole, the swordsmanship was dozens of times more powerful than the swordsmanship displayed by each of them. It was much stronger than his Starfire Burning Sun, which was why he was crushed. I thought that as long as I created the strongest 6th level skill, I would have a chance to pass through this high platform. But now it seems that I'm still far from it. Jian Wushuang felt bitter in his heart. The swordsmanship power, formed by the combination of 6 human-shaped sculptures, was much stronger than the strongest skill he had created. So if 10 human-shaped sculptures join hands, or if all 18 sculptures join hands, then what incredible power would they have after combining their swordsmanship? It's not enough. Creating the strongest absolute art of the 6th realm is not enough to break out of this array. It's far from enough. If these 18 sculptures can perfectly combine their swordsmanship and increase the power of their swordsmanship by dozens or even hundreds of times, then if I want to break through this place, I have to create at least the ruler realm, which is a 7th level absolute art. Jian Wushuang's face was very ugly. A rank 7 secret art was a master realm secret art. Under normal circumstances, only experts at the master realm could create such a secret art. Of course, a few heaven-defying experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm could also create such a secret art. But after all, there were too few of them. In this territory, there were not many experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. But among these experts, there was probably no one who had created a master realm secret art. If there was one person, Jian Wushuang knew it was Di Shisan. Di Shisan, the leader of the 7-star mysterious sect, who had a great relationship with Jian Wushuang. According to Elder Darkbone, Di Shisan was a genius of sword principle. His understanding of sword principle had reached a new level, which many experts at the ruler realm had never been involved in. His understanding of sword principle was so high, it was no surprise that he must have created a master realm absolute art. However, Jian Wushuang could not find another person in this territory besides him. What kind of person was Di Shisan? He was definitely a shocking sword principle genius. Jian Wushuang was not so arrogant as to be able to compete with such a sword principle genius. Moreover, Di Shisan was a genuine principles master, and he was also a principles master at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. However, Jian Wushuang was just an immortal saint. For an immortal saint to create at least a level 7 absolute art, the test of the human-shaped sculpture array was so harsh that it was unbearable. This test, Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, feeling a little angry. He was angry because the test was too difficult. He had been through all kinds of tests in his 2 lives, but he had never felt that it was so difficult. Chapter 3570, Death? Jian Wushuang had experienced many storms, so he could remain absolutely calm no matter how angry he was. He knew very well that this human-shaped sculpture array was a test. Since it was a test, he naturally had a chance to pass it. Even if the chance was slim, there was still a glimmer of hope. Moreover, this test had a duration of 10 million years, which was an extremely long time for Jian Wushuang. I can't be impatient. After all, I've only been trapped on this high platform for 3,000 years. I still have enough time. If I devote myself to studying sword principle and swordsmanship in the remaining long years, who knows what level I will reach? Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. His heart also became firm. Then, Jian Wushuang looked at the human-shaped statues in front of him. The 6 human-shaped statues just now displayed swordsmanship at the peak of the skill level. But when they combined their swordsmanship, the power of their swordsmanship suddenly increased by dozens of times. How did their swordsmanship merge together? And how did the power of their swordsmanship suddenly increase so much? Jian Wushuang was full of doubt and puzzlement. Soon, he fought with the 6 human-shaped statues again. This time, Jian Wushuang wanted to see how the human-shaped statues combined their sword skills to increase their power. The process of combining sword skills would certainly be of great help to his swordsmanship and sword principle. On the high platform, Jian Wushuang was soon immersed in the bitter cultivation of his swordsmanship. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, Jian Wushuang had been trapped on the high platform for 10,000 years. During these 10,000 years, the special space-time was certainly calm, but the outside world of this special space-time was still in a state of fervor. Especially in Star Palace. It has been 10,000 years. After Heavenly Sword Marquis entered the unexplored area of Devil Smoke Valley, there has been no trace of him for more than 10,000 years. I'm afraid he has already met his doom. Several high-level experts of the Star Palace gathered together. Among them, the Master of Seven Emotions was the first to speak. The three great battlefields are extremely dangerous. Therefore, not only our Star Palace, but also experts from the surrounding star realms and various forces, will maintain contact with the outside world, while adventuring in the three great battlefields. Every once in a while, they will take the initiative to report their situation to the higher-ups. They will also let the higher-ups of the forces they are in know that he is at least still alive. But now, little friend Heavenly Sword Marquis has been missing for a full 10,000 years. According to what we know, little friend Heavenly Sword Marquis hasn't been born in the divine beginning realm for more than 10,000 years. Now he has disappeared for such a long time. Moreover, he is in an unexplored region. Most likely, he has already fallen, Axe One Master added. Hearing this, the people around them also fell silent. If one suddenly lost contact with the outside world, while adventuring in the three battlefields, it was possible that they had fallen into some sort of predicament or special space-time. Falling into these places did not mean that they would fall. However, such a place would not be trapped for long. 10,000 years was indeed too long. Moreover, someone had seen Jian Wushuang enter the unexplored area in the depths of Devil Smoke Valley. Many dangers in the unexplored area were unknown. If one was careless, even a ruler realm expert could die instantly, let alone an ordinary principles master. Jian Wushuang had completely disappeared not long after entering the unexplored area, and it took him 10,000 years in an hour. It was almost certain that he was dead. It's a pity. It's really a pity. Marquis Duanyu could not help sighing. The Heavenly Sword Marquis is extremely talented, and his potential is limitless. If he did not die, his future achievements would be immeasurable. But now sigh. He can't blame anyone. He can only blame himself. Seven Emotions Master said in a low voice. I said before that although Heavenly Sword Marquis has some strength, he is only an immortal saint. He still has a lot of room to grow, and there is no need to rush to the three battlefields. However, he went to the three battlefields, and he went to the unknown region in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley alone. Even some top principles masters don't dare to take risks in that place. As an immortal saint, it would be strange if he didn't die there. Seven Emotions Master was the only one among the four who had not dealt with Jian Wushuang. Therefore, she did not have to be too emotional about Jian Wushuang's death. At most she felt a little pity. Heavenly Sword Marquis, you are indeed a little too impulsive this time, Marquis Duanyu said. Ladies and gentlemen, although this Heavenly Sword Marquis has been missing for 10,000 years, we cannot be sure that he is dead. Perhaps he still has a chance to live? Star Saint Master, who had not spoken up, said, Yes, it is too presumptuous to say that Heavenly Sword Marquis is dead now. We should wait for a while. If there is still no news from him, we can announce his death later, Axe One Master said. Jian Wushuang was now known as Blood Sword Master, and he had a certain reputation in the three battlefields. Most importantly, Axe One Master knew Jian Wushuang's true identity and strength. He also knew how much their palace master valued Jian Wushuang. This could be seen from the fact that Desolate Emperor, the Heaven Ancestor, had summoned Jian Wushuang alone. It was not appropriate for such an important figure to conclude that Jian Wushuang was dead, so they could only wait. By the way, I heard that when the Heavenly Sword Marquis was in the Divine Beginning Realm, he was still a member of the Temporal Temple. The founder of the Temporal Temple, the space-time ruler, has extraordinary means. The experts of the Temporal Temple under his command all left their life aura in their divine seats. We can send someone to the Temporal Temple to see if his divine seat is still there, Axe One Master said. It's useless. As soon as Axe One Master finished speaking, Seven Emotions Master shook his head and said, I've heard of the divine seat that contains the aura of life. It's not only in the Divine Beginning Realm, but also in some big forces in other astral worlds. But that thing is only useful in or around the astral world. If the cultivator is too far away from the divine seat, then he can't sense it. Right now, Heavenly Sword Marquis is in an unknown area deep in Devil's Smoke Valley. It's too far away from the Divine Beginning Realm. Even if Heavenly Sword Marquis has fallen there, his divine position in the divine beginning realm will not change. Chapter 3571. Can't you feel it? Axe 1 Master frowned slightly and took a deep breath after a while. In that case, we can only wait for another 20,000 years. If there is still no trace of the Heavenly Sword Marquis in the next 20,000 years, we can announce his death to the public. 20,000 years? The people around were surprised. After all, Jian Wushuang had been missing for 10,000 years. If the other cultivators under Star Palace had been missing for thousands of years, Star Palace would have announced his death. However, Jian Wushuang had to wait for 30,000 years before announcing his death. It was obvious how important Jian Wushuang was to Star Palace. Of course, Axe 1 Master and the others did not know the importance of Jian Wushuang, but they knew how much his palace master valued him. The reason why they had waited so long to announce Jian Wushuang's death was, to a large extent, because they wanted to wait until they were more certain before reporting the news to their palace master. In addition, they still had a glimmer of hope for Jian Wushuang. Unfortunately, after another 20,000 years, there was still no news of Jian Wushuang. This time, Axe 1 Master, Marquis Duanyu, and the others no longer had any hope for Jian Wushuang. Soon, the news of the Bloodsword Master's death spread throughout the territory. However, the 3 battlefields were extremely dangerous. There were countless experts from various forces in the Star Worlds. Although Jian Wushuang had a certain reputation, he was still a small fry compared to this territory. He was still a nobody. Even if the news of his death spread, it would not cause any ripples in this territory. At most, he would only have contact with Jian Wushuang, Heavy Master, Saber Python Master, and Purple Sound Master, who had a certain friendship with him, sighed slightly in their hearts. Time passed quickly, and the 3 battlefields were still bustling with activity. In the depths of Devil Smoke Valley, Jian Wushuang had been trapped here for 50,000 years in the special space-time zone in the unknown region. Being trapped for 50,000 years was a torture for Jian Wushuang. Fortunately, he could constantly fight with those human-shaped sculptures, and his swordsmanship and strength had been improving. Therefore, he was not too lonely and boring. In addition, after 50,000 years, he had become completely calm, and even quiet. Now he was not worried about his predicament at all. Instead, he was looking forward to his future. In these 50,000 years, I have fought with these 6 human-shaped sculptures many times. I have been pondering over the mysteries of their swordsmanship fusion. I didn't understand how their swordsmanship could be perfectly fused together, and why their power would increase so much after the fusion. But now I understand. Jian Wushuang stood there with a smile on his face, as he looked at the 6 human-shaped sculptures in front of him. That was right. For 50,000 years, he was still stuck in the 6 human-shaped sculptures. Even though his swordsmanship had improved greatly, he still could not break through the obstacles of the 6 human-shaped sculptures. However, although he could not break through the obstacles of the 6 human-shaped sculptures, he understood the reason why the swordsmanship of the 6 human-shaped sculptures had suddenly skyrocketed. It's the sword principle. The reason why the sword techniques they displayed could be combined so perfectly is that the sword principle they have mastered is completely different from the sword principle I have mastered. My sword principle is the solipsistic sword principle, with myself as the core. Even the power of the sword principle originates from the sword world condensed in my body. However, the sword principle of these human-shaped sculptures doesn't have themselves as the core, but the entire heaven and earth as the core. The power of the sword principle they use also originates from the surrounding heaven and earth. To be exact, it originates from the vast universe. Although my sword world is stable and powerful, it's still just a small sword world. No matter how much my sword principle improves, its power will still be limited. However, the power of the sword principle from the universe is truly boundless. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, his eyes shining with a bright light. Visit Rietal, me for extra chapters. He understood the shortcomings of his sword principle. Just as he said, his sword principle was centered on himself. Although it was powerful, it was too narrow. It was like a small stream, Although he could control it freely, how could the power of a small stream be compared to the mighty sea, let alone the entire universe? Wrong, wrong. Jian Wushuang laughed. I've been using the enlightenment system of the divine beginning realm's sword principle, with my own sword principle as the core. I've been improving step by step according to the level of the divine beginning realm's sword principle. However, I've never thought that the divine beginning realm is just an unremarkable third-class world star in the vast universe. How could the cultivation system in this world star be complete? How can it all be right? I couldn't help it. I was born in the divine beginning realm, so my horizons were too small. I didn't see the true vastness of this universe, so I didn't question some of the cultivation and comprehension systems in the divine beginning realm. But now, I understand that the true sword Tao isn't based on oneself, but should be based on heaven and earth, with the vast universe as the core. That is the true vastness, the most powerful sword Tao. Jian Wushuang laughed crazily, and his laughter echoed in this special space and time. The laughter lasted for a long time before it finally calmed down. In the middle of the high platform, Jian Wushuang had already sat down with his legs crossed. His eyes were cold, and his body slightly shook. In an instant, a huge and complete sword world appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. This sword world was the sword principle world that Jian Wushuang had spent a great deal of money to condense. It represented Jian Wushuang's achievements in sword principle. Now this sword world spanned 100,000 years. The boundless sword tree in the center was also 100,000 feet tall. Its branches were lush and lush, covering the entire sword world. In this sword world, there were mountains, rivers, and everything that a normal world should have. This was formed after Jian Wushuang reached the third level of sword principle and evolved everything. But now, looking at the sword world in front of him, Jian Wushuang's eyes were extremely cold. I have a hunch that my judgment is not wrong. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang made up his mind. In an instant, the entire sword world began to collapse at an astonishing speed. Jian Wushuang had destroyed the sword world that he had painstakingly condensed. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 3572. The collapse of the sword world meant that all of Jian Wushuang's previous efforts in sword principle had been in vain. This step was not easily accomplished. Even Jian Wushuang had made a great determination, even with a hint of a gamble. He did not know if his guess was correct, but he knew that his sword principle was indeed too narrow. If he wanted to change this, he had to change his previous understanding of sword principle and start afresh. This was what Jian Wushuang had already done. Sword principle, with the vast universe as its core. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes and began to touch the sword principle in the vast universe. Time continued to pass like flowing water, while Jian Wushuang chose to destroy his sword world and start comprehending the universal sword principle again. In this territory, there was an ordinary Earth star not far from the divine beginning realm. This Earth star had been occupied by someone a long time ago, and the force that occupied it was called the Sacred Island. Sacred Island was built on the foundation of the three saint realms of the divine beginning realm. The cultivators on the Sacred Island were mostly experts who came from the three saint realms. However, because the Sacred Island did not have a ruler realm expert overseeing it, thus, the Sacred Island was only a small faction in this territory. It was far inferior to the Star Palace. However, at this moment, in the center of the Sacred Island, in a majestic palace, there were three figures sitting on towering thrones in three different directions. Below them, there was a peak level 6 realm principles master. He was respectfully kneeling there. It must be known that a peak 6th realm principles master could be considered a peak expert even in this territory. Normally, even if he met an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm, he would at most lower his stance slightly. However, this peak 6th realm principles master was actually kneeling here. One could imagine how powerful the three people he was kneeling on were. That was right, the three people sitting on the throne were the three rulers. It's been so long. Is there still no news from Heavenly Sword Marquis? An indifferent voice rang out as the tall man in front of him looked down. His eyes were ice-cold and contained a faint evil intent. Anyone who saw him would shudder. "My lord, there is no news," the Peak Sixth Realm Principal's master respectfully replied. Facing 3 genuine rulers, especially knowing their true origins and identities, this principal's master did not even dare to breathe loudly. "The 3 of us have already been in this territory for 30,000 years, while Heavenly Sword Marquis has been missing for 20,000 years before we arrived. In that case, he has been missing for 50,000 years. From the looks of it, he should already be dead," the tall man said. "That should be the case," the evil-looking youth wearing a scarlet cape on the other throne said with a strange smile. "I have a certain understanding of this territory, and I also know the existence of the 3 battlefields in this territory. Those 3 battlefields should come from the depths of the universe, or even the core, and they contain endless dangers. As for the unexplored area in the core of Devil's Smoke Valley, let alone that Heavenly Sword Marquis, even the 3 of us would die if we were careless. Heavenly Sword Marquis has been trapped in the undiscovered region for 50,000 years. No matter how you look at it, he is definitely dead." "My lord, you are right. When Heavenly Sword Marquis entered the undiscovered region of Devil's Smoke Valley and disappeared without a trace, he was already considered dead. However, the Star Palace did not release any news until 30,000 years after he disappeared. The Star Palace finally announced his death. If even the Star Palace thinks so, then Heavenly Sword Marquis should no longer have any chance of survival." The kneeling principal's master said, "Since we are all going to die for sure, why are the 3 of us still standing here like idiots? Let's go back." The last of the 3 rulers, a child-faced, white-haired old man, spoke out. "Don't be impatient." The tall man laughed. "We spent tens of thousands of years in order to reach this territory. How can we go back in such a hurry? Even if Heavenly Sword Marquis is dead, you have to know that the 3 battlefields in this territory are indeed a great treasure land. The opportunities contained in them are no small matter. The 3 of us can spend some time exploring these 3 battlefields and obtain some opportunities. This won't be a wasted trip. Visit Readle.me for extra chapters. Moreover, this matter was ordered by that lord. That lord said that he must kill Heavenly Sword Marquis no matter what. Although he has been missing for 50,000 years, and the probability of him dying is over 99%, we haven't really seen his corpse. If we go back like this, it will be very difficult to explain in front of that lord. Therefore it's better to wait." "I agree," the devilish youth laughed. "The 3 great battlefields are indeed quite good, and there are many opportunities. The most important thing is that there aren't many people competing against each other. This isn't like the territory we are in. Although there are many places with great opportunities, there are simply too many experts there. How can this place be like this? There are only a few dozen rulers in this entire territory, and all of them are ordinary rulers. Since you think so, then let's wait a little longer." The child-faced, white-haired old man nodded, then he shouted, "Right, doesn't that lord have 3 slaves in the Divine Beginning Realm? I need some natural treasures. This is the list. Tell them to collect them quickly and send them to me." "Yes." The principal's master was so scared that he nodded immediately. The 3 of them were not rulers of this territory, but came from other territories. The reason why they came to this territory was very simple. It was for Jian Wushuang. To be exact, it was for the Divine Beginning Realm. In the Divine Beginning Realm, the 3 Saint Realms ruled over everything, and behind the 3 Saint Realms was the heavenly Tao will of the Divine Beginning Realm. In the world-destroying battle countless years ago, the 7-star mysterious sect was destroyed and Xianyi was killed. The reason for that battle was because Xianyi's existence threatened the divine will of the Divine Beginning Realm. After that, the Divine Will invited many experts from outside the world to destroy the 7-star mysterious sect and kill Xianyi. This time, the 3 rulers in the hall were also invited by the Divine Will of the Divine Beginning Realm to kill Jian Wushuang. They had arrived here 30,000 years ago, but when they arrived, Jian Wushuang had already entered the unknown region of Devil's Smoke Valley and had been missing for more than 20,000 years. After all, the sacred island was founded on the 3 Saint Realms, so it had been paying close attention to Jian Wushuang. When Jian Wushuang was traveling in the 3 battlefields under the name of Blood Sword Master, and killed Sacred Island's Dragonhawk Master, the Sacred Island had already guessed that Blood Sword Master was Jian Wushuang. Therefore, Sacred Island knew that Jian Wushuang had entered the unexplored area of Devil's Smoke Valley, and had been missing. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 3573. In a flash, Jian Wushuang had lost contact with the outside world for a full 80,000 years. He had also been trapped on the high platform for a full 80,000 years. 30,000 years ago, Jian Wushuang collapsed the sword world on his own, and began to re-establish his sword principle with the universe as the core. Because he had many understandings of sword principle before, he was naturally familiar with the way to re-establish his sword principle now. During the past 30,000 years, his sword principle had been improving rapidly and had never stopped. On the high platform, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and slowly stood up. However, the moment he stood up, an invisible sword essence stretched out and instantly triggered the surrounding universe. Endless sword principle origin surged toward him. He was standing there, but he felt that he had become the core of the sword principle origin. With a thought, the sword principle origin of the universe could be used by him. With a simple action, he could immediately absorb a large amount of the sword principle origin contained in the universe. This feeling is the real sword principle. Jian Wushuang sighed with surprise and joy in his eyes. He had renewed his sword principle and activated the universe sword principle origin. Now that he had finally used the universe sword principle origin, his sword principle had reached a new level. If I'm not wrong, Di Shisan's sword principle level should also be at this step, Jian Wushuang muttered. Di Shisan was an amazing genius in sword principle. His sword principle was the strongest in the divine beginning realm since ancient times. Even though he was only a principle's master, his level of sword principle was beyond the reach of many rulers. Although Jian Wushuang could not really compare with Di Shisan, he felt that his current grasp of sword principle should not be much weaker than Di Shisan's. I'm very curious about how much my swordsmanship will improve after reaching this step. Jian Wushuang slowly extended his right hand, with a hint of expectation. He did not use a sword, nor did he display swordsmanship. He just casually slashed with his right index finger. This slash instantly activated the origin of sword principle in the universe. For a moment, the space was almost cut open. Wow! When I activated the sword principle origin of the universe, the power of my sword suddenly increased by dozens of times. It's so terrifying, Jian Wushuang exclaimed. Previously, when he had reached the 3rd level of sword principle and evolved everything, the power of his swordsmanship could also be increased with the support of sword principle. However, the increase in power was very limited. It was already incredible to be able to increase the power by 1 or 2 times. But now, with a casual move of his sword, the power of the origin of sword principle in the universe was instantly increased by dozens of times. This increase was too great. Now I understand why Di Shisan was able to cut off the arm of a ruler, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. With the comprehension of sword principle at this stage, the power of each move was extremely powerful. For example, now, even with a casual move of his sword, the power of this move would still be no weaker than a level 6 absolute art. Once he displayed his sword skill and activated the sword principle origin of the universe, the power of his sword skill would be even more terrifying. Moreover, his understanding of sword principle was so high that it had already surpassed most of the Master Realm experts. At this stage, he could completely create a level 7 absolute art, which was an absolute art at the Master Realm. Once he created a level 7 absolute art and activated the sword principle origin of the universe, the power would be too terrifying. I was absolutely confident that I had some talent in sword principle, but I wasn't confident that I could compete with Di Shisan. I didn't expect that I could really catch up with Di Shisan in the blink of an eye. Jian Wushuang's face was full of surprise and joy. However, He also understood that the reason why he was able to achieve this step was because of his extraordinary perception and comprehension. Another point was the human-shaped statue array in front of him. The combination of the human-shaped statues in the array and their swordsmanship made Jian Wushuang realize the shortcomings of his sword principle and allowed him to find a flaw. He also saw a brand new sword principle. Of course, the most important point was Jian Wushuang's decisiveness and boldness. After all, he had destroyed his sword world on his own, and then recultivated his sword principle. Visit Me for extra chapters. This process was not something that an ordinary person could do. After all, it was not easy to cultivate a sword principle to this point. Who would be willing to destroy it on their own? Who would be willing to recultivate it? Even if they knew that they had made a mistake, after all, they had put in so much effort. No one would be willing to reject everything and recultivate it, let alone Jian Wushuang, who only relied on his own comprehension. With some conjectures, he decisively broke down the sword world, and then relearned his sword principle. Such decisiveness and boldness were not something that ordinary people could have. Jian Wushuang had done it, and he had made the right bet. After relearning his sword principle for 30,000 years, his sword principle had reached a new level, which was far above the sword principle he had comprehended before. Although I have taken this step, I don't know what level it is. Jian Wushuang smiled. However, in the divine beginning realm, sword principle was divided into 3 levels. Although the sword principle I have mastered now is not the same as the 3 levels, it is still considered the 4th level of sword principle. The 4th level of sword principle was beyond the realm of principles masters. Jian Wushuang had reached the level of sword principle that even many master realm experts could not reach. I've reached the 4th level of sword principle. I wonder what will happen if I try to break through this human-shaped sculpture array again. Jian Wushuang licked his lips, looked at the human-shaped sculptures in front of him, and took out his shadow-killing sword. Then he walked forward step by step. Soon, Jian Wushuang fought with the human-shaped sculptures again. This time, because he had reached the 4th level of sword principle, his swordsmanship was completely different. While Jian Wushuang was fighting with the human-shaped sculptures, the consciousness in the deepest part of the special space-time awakened again. This time, when he woke up and sensed what was happening on the high platform, the consciousness was completely shocked. Sword, universe origin of sword principle? This kid has activated the universe origin of sword principle? He has reached the first step of the universe origin of sword principle. The consciousness was completely shocked. After all, 80,000 years ago, when Jian Wushuang first came to this special space-time and was trapped on the high platform, the sword principle that he displayed was extremely laughable to him. But now, if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 3574. Unbelievable to activate the universe origin of sword principle and take the first step into the universe origin of sword principle. In just 80,000 years, this rate of improvement was too frightening. The key is that he is only an immortal saint. Even though this consciousness was knowledgeable, at this moment, a huge wave was stirred up in his heart. It took a deep breath before it shouted again. "Third brother, wake up! Fourth brother, what's wrong now?" The second consciousness that had previously awakened and conversed with this consciousness also woke up. Hee, it's still for that little fellow trapped in the 18 ultimate formation. The first consciousness laughed. I already said that that little fellow was destined to die from the moment he stepped into the 18 ultimate formation. What's there to say? It's a waste of time. The second consciousness said with some dissatisfaction. Doomed to die? I don't think so. The first consciousness said with a demonic charm. Third brother, take a good look at the little guy in the 18 ultimate formation and see what level he has reached. Oh, the second consciousness could not help but be surprised. Although he had woken up, he did not immediately grasp the situation of this special space-time. Now that he heard the first consciousness words, he subconsciously looked at the high platform. Immediately, he saw the scene on the high platform. he saw Jian Wushuang walking on the high platform. There were still 6 human-shaped sculptures in front of him. When these 6 human-shaped sculptures joined hands, they were extremely powerful. Previously, even if Jian Wushuang tried his best, he was still completely suppressed by these 6 human-shaped sculptures. But now Jian Wushuang looked relaxed and content. He casually drew his sword, and did not display any extraordinary sword skills, but he could easily block the sword skills of the 6 human-shaped sculptures. Each of his casual moves triggered the universe origin of sword principle, making his swordsmanship even more terrifying. This is. After seeing the scene on the high platform, the second consciousness was stunned, but then became excited. The universe origin of sword principle. Yes, it's the universe origin of sword principle. Haha, yes, it's the universe origin of sword principle. He has already taken the first step of the universe origin of sword principle. Now you dare to say that he can't break through the 18 ultimate formation, and is doomed to die? The first consciousness laughed. How is this possible? The second consciousness was still filled with shock. A mere immortal saint can actually take such a step in Sword Dao. Moreover, when he first came to this space-time 80,000 years ago, he didn't come into contact with this level at all. He even took the wrong step in Sword Dao. However, in a short span of 80,000 years, he has already taken this step? I also find it unbelievable. The first consciousness said, even though I spent most of my time sleeping, I still pay attention to this little guy. I can be sure that when he entered this space-time, he didn't even know what the Sword Dao universe origin was, and he was trapped here the entire time. There was no one to guide him. He relied purely on his own trial and error, and in just a short 80,000 years, he actually reached this step. Thanks. I know that there are some incredible geniuses in this vast universe. All of them are incomparably heaven-defying. For example, the 2 geniuses who passed through the 18 absolute formations were extremely heaven-defying. However, one of them was a principles master, while the other was a ruler. In terms of talent, they probably can't compare to that little fellow trapped within the 18 absolute formations. Indeed, he did not receive any guidance. He only relied on his own exploration. The second consciousness sighed. If Jian Wushuang had reached this stage under the guidance of an expert, they would still be able to accept it. After all, the most important step to step into the origin of the sword universe was to first come into contact with the origin of the sword universe. If there was no guidance, ordinary people would not know what the origin of the sword universe was, so how could they come into contact with it? However, Jian Wushuang really did not have anyone to guide him. He just relied on his own trial and error, relying on his comprehension on the way to battle with those human-shaped sculptures to find his sword principle's inadequacies. Then he decisively collapsed the sword world and began to recultivate sword principle. This ability was indeed incredible. The first step in his Tao of the sword to enter the origin of the sword universe means that his understanding of the Tao of the sword is already higher than that of an ordinary ruler. His understanding of the Tao of the sword is so high that even if he hasn't fused 4 laws to become a ruler, he can still easily create a level 7 absolute art, or even an advanced level 7 absolute art. Once he creates an advanced level 7 absolute art, the 18 absolute formations won't be able to stop him, the first consciousness said. Well, with such a high understanding of sword principle, it is indeed easy to create a level 7 absolute art. The second consciousness nodded, seeing that Jian Wushuang had already taken the first step into the origin of the sword universe. The 2 consciousnesses understood that it was difficult for Jian Wushuang to break through the 18 ultimate formations. Now they were both looking forward to Jian Wushuang creating a level 7 advanced absolute art, and then breaking through the 18 ultimate formations. For this reason, they even stopped sleeping temporarily and stayed awake, keeping an eye on Jian Wushuang. On the high platform, Jian Wushuang had already defeated the 6 human-shaped sculptures. It was normal. After reaching the 4th level of sword principle, each of his sword skills was extremely powerful. Even if he did not use any extraordinary sword skills, he could easily defeat the 6 human-shaped sculptures. Once he used his strongest technique, he could easily crush the 6 sculptures. However, after he defeated the 6 sculptures, the remaining 12 sculptures around the platform woke up at the same time. Together with the previous 6 sculptures, a total of 18 sculptures attacked at the same time. Although the absolute arts performed by the 18 human-shaped sculptures were only at the pinnacle of the 6th realm, the swordsmanship performed by the 18 human-shaped sculptures was as powerful as the previous 6 human-shaped sculptures. It had completely reached the peak of the 7th level elementary absolute arts. Jian Wushuang could not withstand such power, so he was defeated and retreated to the center of the platform again. However, Jian Wushuang was not at all disappointed this time. On the contrary, he was full of confidence. Fortunately, the swordsmanship power of these 18 human-shaped sculptures is only at the level of the 7th level absolute skill. At most, it is at the peak of the 7th level elementary skill. Although I can't fight against this level of absolute skill now, I have reached the 4th level of sword principle. It should not be difficult for me to create a 7th level absolute skill now. As long as I can create the same level of the 7th level elementary skill, I can fight these 18 human-shaped sculptures head-on. And once I've created a 7th level art, I can easily break out of this array. Chapter 3575. Level 7 Secret Skill. The Level 7 Secret Skill was not too difficult for him now. Even if it was a Level 7 Advanced Secret Skill, he could create it if he needed time. Fortunately, the human-shaped sculpture array had a time limit of 10 million years, and only 80,000 years had passed since he was trapped here. He had plenty of time. Jian Wushuang immediately sat down cross-legged. In terms of swordsmanship, I created the move Starfire Burning Sun after tens of thousands of years of evolution. Although this move is only the strongest level 6 ultimate skill, with my current understanding of sword principle, I can completely improve this move and upgrade it to level 7. Not only can I improve Starfire Burning Sun, but I can also improve my swordsmanship, which is at the peak of level 6, such as Till Death Do Us Part, Purple Charm, and Sword Rainbow. I can also improve the 7 sword moves in the Peerless Sword Manual. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Soon, he closed his eyes and began to study it. Just as Jian Wushuang had expected, with her current understanding of sword principle, it was too easy for her to improve the swordsmanship that she had created before. It did not take long. For example, it only took him more than 1,000 years to upgrade Starfire Burning Sun to the level of an elementary level 7 skill. However, it was obviously not enough to meet his requirements. Time passed, and another 17,000 years passed in a flash. 17,000 years, plus the previous 80,000 years. Jian Wushuang had been trapped there for 97,000 years. On this day, Jian Wushuang suddenly opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, a shocking sword essence swept out. This sword essence was extremely powerful. Fortunately, he was in this special space-time. There were no cultivators around. If there were cultivators in the outside world, ordinary principles masters would definitely be scared to death by this sword essence. Haha, it's done. Jian Wushuang also revealed a surprised smile. After spending 17,000 years to improve his swordsmanship finally met his requirements. The 3 sword techniques of Till Death Do Us Part, Purple Charm and Sword Rainbow have all been upgraded to the level of an elementary level 7 absolute art, and they are all at the peak of the elementary level 7. In the Wushuang Sword Manual, I've also upgraded to the peak of the initial stage of the 7th rank for the 2 common sword techniques, Xixiang and Star Dream. As for the remaining 5 sword techniques, they are all at the threshold of the 7th rank. And most importantly, this move, Starfire Burning Sun. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly. After all, Starfire Burning Sun was the 6th rank ultimate skill that he had spent tens of thousands of years to create. Previously, its level was much higher than the other sword techniques that he had created. But in these 17,000 years, he had spent a lot of time on improving this sword skill. Until now, this sword skill had finally reached the level of the 7th level advanced ultimate skill. In Jian Wushuang's opinion, The 7th level advanced skill was enough for him to pass through the human-shaped sculpture array. Let's try it. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate, and directly began to pass through the human-shaped sculpture array. As he stood up and walked toward the human-shaped sculptures, the two consciousnesses that had been watching Jian Wushuang in the deepest part of the space-time immediately perked up. He has been sitting there for 17,000 years. He must be creating swordsmanship. Now that he is getting ready to break through the 18 ultimate formation, he must have created his swordsmanship, the first consciousness said. Yes, he has fought with the 18 human-shaped sculptures at the same time. He knows the power of the sword technique, formed by the combination of these 18 human-shaped sculptures. Now that he has come to challenge the formation again, it means that he has the confidence to challenge it, the second consciousness said with a smile. It seems that Master's lineage will have another amazing little guy. Haha, this little fellow is indeed remarkable. At the very least, he is much more powerful than the two of us. The first consciousness laughed as well. Such a rare moment can not only be seen by the two of us. The second consciousness smiled faintly. Following that, a magnificent voice reverberated in the deepest part of the special space-time. 2nd, 5th, and 7th, the three of you should also wake up. This voice was not only majestic, but it also contained an invisible power. This power spread out like a wave board, instantly awakening the other three consciousnesses that were sleeping in this special space-time. Third brother, what's the matter? Third brother, you should know my current situation. If there isn't anything urgent, don't disturb me. Different voices came from two different directions. The five of them were in different corners of this special space-time, but their consciousnesses had already gathered together. I know your situation, but don't worry. I won't take too long to wake you up, and I won't let you use your strength. I just want you to see the little guy in the 18 ultimate formation. The second consciousness said. It was the third one. In the 18 ultimate formation? The other three consciousnesses had just woken up, and they had not paid enough attention to what was happening in this special space and time. Therefore, they did not know about Jian Wushuang's existence until their consciousnesses covered it. They finally understood why the third one woke them up. Immortal Saint? An immortal saint actually created a level 7 absolute art? My God, his swordsmanship has triggered the universe origin of sword principle? He has actually stepped into the first step of the universe origin of sword principle. A level 7 absolute art is a level 7 absolute art. And it's not just one. He created many types of level 7 absolute arts at the same time. This little guy is really amazing. The newly awakened three consciousnesses were all extremely shocked when they saw Jian Wushuang's performance on the high platform. Ladies and gentlemen, there is one more thing I have to tell you. This little guy has only been in this special space and time for 97,000 years. He has only been trapped in the 18 ultimate formation for so long. When he first came here, his sword principle was still very immature and laughable. He even took the wrong path in his sword principle. However, it only took him 97,000 years to reach this step. If nothing goes wrong, he will be able to break through the 18 ultimate formations soon, third brother said. Unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. He has been trapped for less than 100,000 years, and his sword Dao was very laughable at the beginning. This little guy is really a monster. Haha. I didn't expect that we would meet such an incredible monster, even though we have been reduced to this barren land. He has broken through the 18 ultimate formations at the level of a saint. Even in the deepest part of the universe where geniuses are as common as clouds, there is no such thing, right? The five consciousnesses were both amazed and excited. Chapter 3576. Golden War God Jian Wushuang was too amazing. If Jian Wushuang was a ruler or a principal's master, they would not be so excited and incredulous even though they were amazed that he had passed the 18 ultimate formation. However, Jian Wushuang was just an immortal saint. Even in the deepest part of the universe where geniuses gathered, no immortal saint could pass the 18 ultimate formation. Well, he passed it. The third brother smiled. Sure enough, after his sword principle has reached this level, The 18 ultimate formation is no longer difficult for him. The first consciousness, the fourth brother said. Is that the 7th level advanced absolute art he created? It looks pretty good. Haha, Master's lineage has another amazing little guy. The other 3 consciousnesses were also laughing. Suddenly, one of the consciousnesses said seriously. After passing the 18 ultimate formations, logically, we should send someone to come in contact with him and tell him the significance of this test. However, the 3 of us are too weak. Even if we awaken our consciousnesses, it will be very difficult, let alone going to see that little guy. Third brother, fourth brother, the 2 of you are in better condition. One of you should go. I'll pass. Fourth brother, go and make a trip, the third brother said. Leave it to me. The fourth brother, who was the first one among the 5 to pay attention to Jian Wushuang's consciousness, was in the best condition. It was because of this that he had the time to pay attention to Jian Wushuang. Now, he had to make contact with Jian Wushuang. Naturally, he was also the best choice. In the deepest corner of this special space-time, rumble, the space-time began to tremble crazily. It was pitch black, and there was not a trace of light in the void. Suddenly, a pair of huge, narrow golden eyes opened. There was a trace of ice-cold luster in the pair of golden eyes. I've been asleep for too long. My body is almost rusty. A loud voice sounded from the pitch-black void. The owner of the golden eyes slowly stood up. At the moment he stood up, a large amount of golden light surged out from his body. The golden light was extremely dazzling. It directly lit up the entire void. After stretching his back, the golden figure directly stepped into the void in front of him. At this moment, Jian Wushuang had just broken through the array of the 18 human-shaped sculptures. Finally him out. Jian Wushuang stood in the gray void and looked at the high platform in front of him. Just now, when he directly attacked and forced his way through, the 18 human-shaped sculptures tried their best to stop him. Unfortunately, Jian Wushuang had created a level 7 absolute art, and with his comprehension of sword principle, he was able to face the 18 human-shaped sculptures head-on. He was not inferior at all. When he was fighting with these human-shaped sculptures, he had even deliberately displayed all of his sword skills. Through these human-shaped sculptures, he tested the power of his sword skills. After all the trials were over, only then did he really make his move. He directly used Starfire Burning Sun, an absolute art that had already reached the advanced level of level 7, and defeated the 18 puppet fighters head-on. The 18 human-shaped statues on the high platform were still there, but they had fallen into a deep sleep. In the center of the high platform, the corpse of the Star Thunder ruler was still intact. This scene made a strange smile appear on Jian Wushuang's face. Star Thunder ruler, although you had the intention to scheme against me, it's a pity that I didn't die on the high platform as you wished. Moreover, the years I've been trapped on the high platform have been a great opportunity for me, which has made my sword principle an incredible improvement. And the Shadow Demon Thunder Staff and Blood Demon Cave Armor you left behind are also precious treasures for me. I really have to thank you for having such a great harvest, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. The reason why he was trapped on the high platform this time was partly because of the Star Thunder ruler. Before the Star Thunder ruler died, he deliberately set a trap in order to let others follow in his footsteps. Unfortunately, Jian Wushuang did not do as he wished. On the contrary, he had obtained a great opportunity. I have passed the test in the high platform, but I still don't know anything about this special space-time. Jian Wushuang frowned. At this moment, haha, a hearty laughter suddenly echoed in the space-time. Who is it? Jian Wushuang's expression suddenly changed, and he immediately looked toward the source of the voice. A golden light slowly lit up from the deepest part of the void. As the golden light got closer and closer, the light became more and more dazzling. When it reached Jian Wushuang, the golden light was still like a huge golden sun, illuminating the entire space and time. Jian Wushuang immediately saw the origin of the golden light. This golden light was a tall cultivator. He was hundreds of feet tall, wearing golden armor, boots, and a golden puppet fighter on his head. He also held a golden spear in his hand, making him look like a golden war god. When he came to Jian Wushuang and stood firmly in front of him, although he did not emit any aura, the moment Jian Wushuang saw him, he immediately felt a chill run down his spine. Yes, it was a chill down his spine. All the pores on his body had stood up. He was scared. He's too strong. This man is too strong. Jian Wushuang's body was trembling crazily. He had seen many experts, including the Temporal Temple Master and the Heaven Ancestor. Although these two experts were extremely powerful, he had seen and come into contact with them. Jian Wushuang was in awe of them, but he was not afraid of them. But now, the Golden War God in front of him, even though he did not exude any aura or power, Jian Wushuang was terrified just by standing there. He did not know what was going on. He could only say that it was an invisible pressure that made him lose the courage to resist. Jian Wushuang knew that the man in front of him was definitely a world-shaking super expert. He might even have surpassed the level of a ruler. Jian Wushuang did not know what level he would reach after he surpassed the level of a ruler, but he knew that it was beyond his reach. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang suppressed the fear in his heart and bowed respectfully to the man. Jian Wushuang, greetings, Your Excellency. Jian Wushuang? Is that your name? The Golden War God gazed at Jian Wushuang with his narrow golden eyes, and a faint smile appeared on his lips. Chapter 3577. Supreme Lingyun, little guy, let me introduce myself first. I'm from planet Lingyun, and I'm Wind Demon, the fourth among the 7 devils under planet Lingyun. The Golden War God said grandly, my master is the Star Master of planet Lingyun, Supreme Lingyun. Planet Lingyun? Supreme Lingyun? Jian Wushuang was shocked. In his eyes, this Golden War God was terrifyingly powerful. He did not expect that he had a master behind him. Supreme? Above the ruler realm is the Supreme Realm? Jian Wushuang could not help but ask. Yes, above the ruler realm is the Supreme Realm. The Golden War God smiled faintly. Among them, the ruler realm cultivators are indeed top experts in some barren places in the universe. However, in the deepest part of the universe, they are nothing. Unless they are some of the top rulers, they can be considered as a figure in the deepest part of the universe. In the deepest part of the universe, the Supreme Realm is the expert who stands at the top of the pyramid. Is that so? Jian Wushuang was shocked, but he quickly calmed down. He looked at the Golden War God in surprise. If I'm not wrong, you're also a supreme being, aren't you? Yes, I'm also a supreme being. The Golden War God nodded. I'm not the only one. The other 6 demons who are as famous as me are also experts at the Supreme Realm. Although they are also supreme beings, there are still differences in strength. For example, as one of the 7 demons of Lingyun Star, my strength is extremely strong even among supreme beings. However, even if we join hands, we are still nothing in front of my master. He had reached the top of the Supreme Realm many years ago. Later, he became even more powerful and became invincible among the supreme beings. Even in the deepest part of the universe, where there are as many experts as clouds, my master is definitely an overlord. With a stomp of his foot, the entire universe will tremble. As for a supreme being like me, he can destroy it with a wave of his hand. Hearing the Golden War God's words, Jian Wushuang was secretly shocked. The Golden War God in front of him was a super existence that terrified him. How could he be annihilated with a wave of his hand in front of his master, Star Master Lingyun? It was obvious how powerful Star Master Lingyun was. Little guy, I'm not telling you this for other reasons. I just want to tell you that the special space you're in now was left behind by my master. The 18 Ultimate Formation you just passed on the high platform was also a test left behind by my master. According to the rules of Planet Lingyun, anyone who can pass the 18 Ultimate Formation can become a disciple of Planet Lingyun. He or she is an inner star disciple, and his or her status is no lower than mine. The Golden War God stared at Jian Wushuang with his golden eyes. Become a disciple of Planet Lingyun? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. He was not too surprised. He was very clear about the difficulty of the 18 Ultimate Formations. It could be said that he was indeed heaven-defying. If it were any other cultivator, it was simply impossible for him to create an advanced level 7 skill at the level of an immortal saint. With the tyrannical strength and status of the Star Master of Planet Lingyun, it was impossible for him to set up such a difficult test for no reason. It was very likely that the test was to select disciples for Planet Lingyun. The Golden War God had not shown up when Jian Wushuang was trapped in the 18 Ultimate Formation. He only told him this when Jian Wushuang passed the test. Little guy, I ask you, do you want to join Planet Lingyun and become an inner disciple of Planet Lingyun? The Golden War God asked seriously. Well, Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and did not answer immediately. Instead he asked, Lord Wind Demon, you mentioned just now that Star Master Lingyun is an extraordinary supreme being. Even in the deepest part of the universe, he is an overlord. But if I'm not wrong, it must have been many years ago, right? Jian Wushuang was not stupid. If Star Master Lingyun had always been like that, how could this special spacetime come to this territory? Moreover, it had existed in the deepest unexplored area of Devil Smoke Valley for so many years. You're right. What I just said was a long time ago. It has been more than 100 chaos cycles since then, the Golden War God said. More than 100 chaos cycles? Jian Wushuang was shocked. He knew that it was only one chaos cycle when a grade 3 Earth star was born and completely annihilated. What was the concept of hundreds of chaos cycles? Jian Wushuang could not even calculate how many years it had been. At that time, our planet Lingyun was indeed an overlord in the deepest part of the universe. My master's strength was enough to intimidate countless experts. However, there was an accident that led to a great change in our planet Lingyun. Our experts died and were injured. Many people escaped from the depths of the universe and fled to every corner of the universe. For example, I fled here with this space-time. Because of my heavy injuries, I have been sleeping for a long time. This time, I woke up because of you, the Golden War God said, his expression darkened. However, he continued, even though that incident caused Planet Lingyun to be on the verge of collapse, there are still many experts from the Lingyun lineage scattered throughout the universe. There's also Master. Master, although he was heavily injured in that battle, I know that he didn't die. His strength has reached his level. It's too difficult for anyone in this universe to kill him. As long as Master doesn't die, Planet Lingyun will have a chance to rise again. My brothers and I are waiting here quietly. We will recover our strength and return to the deepest part of the universe when Master gives the order. So, don't underestimate Planet Lingyun. Jian Wushuang was speechless. He did not mean to underestimate Planet Lingyun. He just wanted to have a deeper understanding of Planet Lingyun. But now he understood almost everything. Planet Lingyun used to be an overlord in the deepest part of the universe. However, hundreds of chaos cycles ago, the entire planet collapsed and countless experts fled in all directions. However, Star Master Lingyun did not die. It was entirely possible for Planet Lingyun to rise again. Little fellow, I've said so much. I've told you everything you need to know. Now you can answer me. Are you willing to join our Lingyun lineage or not? The Golden War God said. Chapter 3578. Internal Star Secret Skill, I do. Jian Wushuang agreed without hesitation. In fact, Jian Wushuang had nothing to refuse. He had never been to the deepest part of the universe, nor had he had much contact with it. The only contact he had was with Blood Wave, and through Blood Wave, he knew about the existence of the Palace of Life. However, the Palace of Life was formed by the special life forms in the universe. Since he was one of the special life forms, he was naturally part of the Palace of Life. Because of the special relationship of the Palace of Life, he could freely join the other major forces in the depths of the universe. Although Planet Lingyun had undergone drastic changes, it used to be an overlord in the deepest part of the universe. There seemed to be many experts at the supreme level, such a major force. Usually, it was difficult for many experts to join. Now that Jian Wushuang had the opportunity, there was no need to refuse. After all, with another identity, if he went to the deepest part of the universe in the future, he would have more to rely on. Very good. Seeing Jian Wushuang agree, the Golden War God also smiled. Little guy, you're very lucky. If previously, when planet Lingyun was at its peak, countless geniuses tried to join our planet Lingyun, but we didn't bother with them. It's a great fortune for you to be a disciple of our planet Lingyun. Lord Wind Demon, since it's a good fortune, as an inner star disciple of the planet Lingyun, I should be able to get some benefits, right? Jian Wushuang asked directly. Of course. The Golden War God smiled. But our planet Lingyun suffered heavy losses in the accident, and its foundation has been almost destroyed. Now in this barren territory, I can't give you the same treatment as an inner star disciple. At most, I can only let you choose an inner star secret skill. Inner star secret skill? Is it a secret skill that only inner star disciples of planet Lingyun are qualified to cultivate? Jian Wushuang looked over. Yes, and not every inner star disciple is qualified to cultivate it. Only a few outstanding inner star disciples, who win the competition, every once in a while are qualified to choose an inner star secret skill. This time, because of the current environment, I can't give you the treatment you deserve as an inner star disciple. So I made an exception and let you choose an inner star secret skill. In addition, there are 9 internal star secret skills in our planet Lingyun. Each of them is extremely powerful, enough to make countless rulers and even supreme beings yearn for them. However, because of the accident, the cultivation methods of these 9 internal star secret skills are available to different experts under my command. I only have 2 internal star secret skills. You can choose one of these 2 internal star secret skills, the Golden War God said. With a wave of his hand, 2 golden stone tablets appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. It was obvious that these 2 golden stone tablets were the cultivation methods of the inner star secret skill. Obviously, the protection of the inner star secret skill in planet Lingyun was very strict. The secret skill could only be taught by these golden stone tablets. In other places, even if the other party had already mastered one of the inner star secret skills, but this person could not teach this secret skill to others. Only 2 inner star secret skills? Jian Wushuang frowned. He said, Sir, according to what you said, because I can't get the treatment that an ordinary inner star disciple should have, you made an exception and let me choose 1 inner star secret skill. But you only have 2 inner star secret skills to choose for me. This is still a little unfair to me. Otherwise, you might as well let me cultivate both of these secret skills. Jian Wushuang was not willing to cultivate only 1 internal star secret skill. He wanted to cultivate 2 at the same time. After all, according to Wind Demon, countless rulers, including many supreme-level experts, yearned to cultivate the 9 internal star secret skills that originated from the planet Lingyun at its peak. Naturally, Jian Wushuang also yearned for it. It would be best if he could cultivate 2 such secret skills at the same time. But after hearing his words, the Golden War God directly shook his head. Don't even think about it. You don't even know the value of these inner star secret techniques and their strength. This inner star secret technique is definitely much more precious than the treatment that all your inner star disciples can receive. I've already opened a back door for you by letting you choose 1 inner star secret technique. But you actually want to cultivate a second one. Do you think the internal star secret skill of Lingyun Star is like cabbages everywhere? I see. Jian Wushuang curled his lips and did not insist. Let me take a look at these 2 secret skills first. Okay. The Golden War God nodded, and then revealed some of the information on the golden stone tablet to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang immediately knew the secret skills on the 2 golden stone tablets. One of the 2 inner star gates was a special secret skill for the circulation of divine power. Once one mastered this secret skill, his divine power could be instantly increased by several times, or even dozens of times to the peak. It could even reach hundreds of times. Of course, the flaw was that this secret skill consumed a lot of divine power, and it could not be used together with other secret skills that also increased divine power. Most importantly, the threshold of this secret skill was very high. Under normal circumstances, only great beings who had reached the ruler realm were qualified to practice it. As for the other internal star secret technique, it was a secret technique related to godly bodies. It was called the Supreme Undying Mysterious Body. This secret technique was used to shape and refine godly bodies. It could make one's godly body incomparably tough and powerful, and it could directly reach the level of a universe true treasure. Besides, this secret technique could be practiced at the level of a principal's master. But the flaw was, when cultivating this secret skill, it required the assistance of some extremely high-level genius earthly treasures, which were very difficult to find. These two secret skills were placed in front of Jian Wushuang at the same time, but Jian Wushuang chose the second one decisively. Although the special divine power circulation secret skill can increase a cultivator's divine power and strength, it can only be cultivated by an expert at the ruler realm. Although I'm a perfect chaotic creature with some special features, I can't cultivate it at the immortal saint realm. Even if I break through to the principal's master realm in the future, I may not be qualified to cultivate this secret skill. I don't have so much time to reach the ruler realm. Besides, who knows if I'll have the chance to become a ruler in the future? Jian Wushuang laughed in his heart. A ruler? There were so many astral worlds in this territory, but there were only so many experts at the ruler realm. There were only a few in the divine beginning realm, so it was extremely difficult to reach that level. Although Jian Wushuang had great potential, he did not dare to say that he would definitely be able to break through to become a ruler. Chapter 3579. Supreme Imperishable Body. The ruler is still too far away for me. On the contrary, the second inner star secret skill can be cultivated by principal's masters. With my life level, I might be able to cultivate it to a certain level at the level of the immortal saint. The only troublesome thing is that it's difficult to find a genius earthly treasure to assist in cultivation. But if I really succeed in cultivating it, Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining. The second internal star secret technique was the undying godly body of a supreme being. This secret technique could make one's godly body indestructible. As long as one completed the first level, one's godly body could rival a low-level universe true treasure. This was too terrifying. Universe true treasures, even if they were only at the level of a low-level universe true treasure, were incredibly tough. There were so many great beings in this territory, but even a ruler realm great being who stood at the top of this territory could not destroy a low-level universe true treasure with his own power. It was because of this level of true treasure. It was not something an ordinary ruler realm great being could shake. If his godly body alone could rival a low-level universe true treasure, then not only would his offensive power increase by another level, but his defensive power would be too strong. Without the strength of a ruler, it would be impossible for a divine body comparable to an elementary universe supreme treasure to destroy his divine power. Even a ruler realm expert would have a hard time dealing with such an indestructible divine body. This was because a ruler realm attack would be weakened to a very low level when it passed through his divine body. Only then would it affect Jian Wushuang's body. The real damage to Jian Wushuang would be very, very small. It could be said that if he could cultivate the first level of the supreme eternal celestial body, he would be able to do whatever he wanted in this territory in the future. Even if he encountered an expert at the ruler realm, he would not be afraid at all. Just the first level alone is enough, and the second and third levels of the supreme eternal celestial body are unimaginable. This secret skill is very useful to me. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. Taking a deep breath, he said directly, "Lord Wind Demon, I've decided to choose the supreme imperishable body." The body-refining secret skill? The Golden War God glanced at Jian Wushuang and nodded slightly. Jian Wushuang's choice was not unexpected. He only had 2 inner star secret skills, and the supreme imperishable body was more suitable for Jian Wushuang than the first one. Now that you've made your choice, come over and drop a drop of blood essence into the stone tablet. After that, you'll be an inner star disciple under the command of Planet Lingyun. I'll give you an inner star disciple token. From now on, you can use this token to sense if there are any experts from Planet Lingyun around. In addition, this stone tablet will transmit the complete supreme imperishable celestial body technique to your mind. However, Although you've obtained the technique, you can only cultivate it by yourself in the future. You can't teach it to others. Even if you want to, it's useless because you can't do it, the Golden War God said. Jian Wushuang shrugged and walked to the golden stone tablet, dropping a drop of his blood essence into it. As soon as the blood essence entered the stone tablet, ancient golden characters floated out of the golden stone tablet and entered Jian Wushuang's body. These characters, Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He did not know what these golden characters were, but he was not unfamiliar with them. There was even a similar golden character on the back of his right hand. This golden character represented the six-path reincarnation secret skill that he had comprehended in the heaven-cleaving secret realm. Heaven-cleaving secret realm, Black Divine Pillar? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. When he had obtained the opportunity in the heaven-cleaving secret realm, he had also mastered the six-path reincarnation secret skill. There were a total of 16 such ancient golden characters on the Black Divine Pillar. Later, he learned that the 16 ancient golden characters represented 16 different secret skills. Jian Wushuang was very curious about the origin of the 16 golden characters. Now he saw the same golden characters, but this time, the golden characters surged out from the golden stone tablet. It seems that the Black Divine Pillar of the heaven-cleaving secret realm is from the deepest part of the universe. Just like this golden stone tablet, Jian Wushuang murmured. He guessed that these golden characters were passed down from the deepest part of the universe. As for the specific meaning of these golden words, he still did not know. After these golden words entered his body, they completely stayed in his mind. Jian Wushuang could sense the existence of these golden words. At the same time, he also sensed the powerful divine body secret skill contained in these golden words. It seems that before I cultivate the supreme eternal celestial body, I have to comprehend the secret skill from these golden words, Jian Wushuang thought. This is your identity token. Take it, and you can leave this time and space, the Golden War God said. Leave now. Jian Wushuang's expression changed, but he said, Lord Wind Demon, I have obtained a top-tier universe supreme treasure armor in this time and space. I want to completely refine this armor before I go out. It's up to you. In short, I will open the exit passage of this space-time later. This passage is at the end of this direction. The Golden War God pointed in a direction. If you are willing, it doesn't matter if you stay here for a while, but you must not wander around. Master personally arranged this space-time. Although Master is not here now and my brothers control it, there are some places in this space-time that have strict rules. Even us brothers can't control them. Just like the 18 ultimate formation you just broke through, it was left behind by Master. As long as you fall into it, you can only do as Master asks. We can't stop you. So if you continue to break into some special places, get trapped, or even die, I can only watch. I understand. I'll only refine the supreme treasure armor, and then go out. I won't wander around recklessly, Jian Wushuang said. Okay, you can arrange it yourself. The Golden War God nodded. My brothers are not in their peak condition. They have been sleeping here for a long time. I think they will stay here for a long time. If you encounter any problems in the future, you can come here. We are both from the planet Lingyun. If we can help you, we will do our best to help you. Thank you. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Chapter 3580. Blood Demon Cave. Armor. The Golden War God, Wind Demon, walked toward the deepest part of the space-time after giving his instructions, and soon disappeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang heaved a heavy sigh of relief after the Golden War God left. He had no choice. The invisible pressure of the Golden War God in front of him made it hard for him to breathe. Fortunately, Wind Demon and I belong to the planet Lingyun. From now on, he won't be dangerous to me. Instead, he might be my helper. Jian Wushuang smiled. Then he took out the blood-red armor. The blood-red armor was the Pinnacle Universe Supreme Treasure Armor, left behind by the Star Thunder Ruler, the Blood Demon Cave Armor. The value of the Pinnacle Universe Supreme Treasure Armor was shocking. However, Jian Wushuang had been trapped on the high platform, The test on the high platform was purely based on absolute arts, and had little to do with other factors. Therefore, he had not refined the armor, but now, this Blood Demon Cave armor needs to completely master the destruction rule, or the slaughter rule to be refined. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Ordinary Supreme Treasure armor could be refined as long as one's strength was sufficient, but the Blood Demon Cave armor had a high requirement. Not only did it require extremely strong strength to suppress the terrifying murderous aura contained in the armor, but it also required one to completely master one of the destruction or slaughter principles, and Jian Wushuang had mastered the destruction principles. He had also mastered the will of destruction. As for the killing aura in the armor, he could suppress it with his current strength. He was fully qualified to refine the Supreme Treasure armor. Jian Wushuang immediately sat down cross-legged and began to refine the Blood Demon Cave armor in the Grey Void. The refining process was very smooth and did not encounter any trouble. Soon, the Blood Demon Cave armor turned into a blood-red robe and was put on his body. As for the blood crystal armor that Jian Wushuang was wearing, he naturally put it back into his interspatial ring. After refining the Blood Demon Cave armor, Jian Wushuang immediately understood the power of the armor. It is indeed worthy of being a top-tier universe Supreme Treasure armor. Its power is really strong. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands with a hint of joy on his face. The Blood Demon Cave armor had to be activated by the power of destruction or slaughter. It had an extremely powerful protective ability. When faced with an attack below the Master Realm, which was the level of a Principal's Master, even an extremely powerful Principal's Master at the pinnacle of the 6th realm, or even a Principal's Master at the pinnacle of the 6th realm, the Blood Demon Cave armor could be directly immune to 99% of the attack's power. It meant that a Principal's Master who had reached the pinnacle of the 6th realm would use his full strength to attack Jian Wushuang. When it passed through the Blood Demon Cave armor, its power would be weakened by 99%. In the end, only 1% of the power would be transmitted into Jian Wushuang's body. 1%. Jian Wushuang's expression was strange. His body protection ability was not weak. The most important thing was that his divine power was too vast. Under such circumstances, it was already very difficult for a Principal's Master to seriously injure him. Now that he had the Blood Demon Cave armor, it directly weakened the attack of Principal's Master by 99%. Jian Wushuang estimated that he would no longer need to care about Principal's Master in this territory in the future. Even if the strongest expert, who was comparable to the underworld bone monster, attacked him with all his strength, it would only barely tickle him. And this was only against a Principal's Master. The Blood Demon Cave armor could weaken 90% of the power of an ordinary ruler's attack, which was very impressive. The protective ability of the Blood Demon Cave armor is indeed very strong. Jian Wushuang smiled. Of course, what really surprised him was not the protective ability of the Blood Demon Cave armor, but the power of the armor. The Blood Demon Cave armor was a treasure armor that combined destruction and slaughter. Like the Blood Crystal armor, it also contained 3 levels of power, but these 3 levels of power were much more heaven-defying than the Blood Crystal armor. The first level of power, that came with the Blood Demon Cave armor, directly gave the cultivator 10 times the power of the pinnacle of the 6th realm. The second level of power was 100 times the power of the pinnacle of the 6th realm. The third level of power was 1,000 times the power of an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. The pinnacle of the 6th realm. Before entering this space and time, he had to use all his strength to barely burst out the power of an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. But now, just the first level of power of the Blood Demon Cave armor was activated. It was 10 times the power of an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. It was too terrifying. The power of 10 times the power of an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm should be stronger than that of an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm, but a ruler definitely can't compare. Jian Wushuang was extremely excited. He understood. If he could activate the first level of the power of the Blood Demon Cave armor, his strength would definitely soar to a whole new level in an instant. However, as a top-tier universe Supreme Treasure armor, It was not easy to activate the first level of power. The power of the Blood Demon Cave armor can be activated by the rule of destruction, or the power of the rule of slaughter. After all, I have mastered the will of destruction. I wonder if I can activate the first level of power, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Soon he began to try. With this attempt, Jian Wushuang found that he could barely activate the first level of the Blood Demon Cave armor. Yes, it could be activated. It was mainly because he had mastered the destruction will. With this destruction will, he barely met the requirements to activate the first level of the power. Great! Jian Wushuang was overjoyed. He immediately activated the first level of power of the Blood Demon Cave armor. In an instant, a faint layer of blood-red energy surged up from the blood-red robe he was wearing and covered his entire body. At this moment, Jian Wushuang immediately felt the power of his power, which had increased by countless times. This is the power of the pinnacle of the sixth realm? This is too strong. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and felt the infinite power in his hands. When he used the heaven-cleaving skill with all his strength, he could barely reach the pinnacle of the sixth realm in an instant. However, compared to the power he had now, the difference was really too great, a full 10 times. If I use the life divine power and the heaven-cleaving skill in my current state, what will happen? With a trace of expectation, Jian Wushuang immediately used the life divine power and the heaven-cleaving skill. However, the result after using them made Jian Wushuang somewhat disappointed. It seems that I'm overthinking. The power I have now is purely given to me by the Blood Demon Cave armor, while the life divine power and heaven-cleaving skill try to bring out my innate advantage. This improvement is based on my own strength. Chapter 3581. Was out both the life divine power and the heaven-cleaving skill were aimed at his life level. They were aimed at giving full play to his innate advantage in life level. This improvement was purely determined by Jian Wushuang's own strength. He was only an immortal saint now, but these two secret skills could only give him an additional strength equivalent to 2 parts of his will. This was already the limit. Although he now had 10 times the power of the pinnacle of the sixth realm, this power was given to him by the Blood Demon Cave armor, not by himself. Therefore, the life divine power and heaven-cleaving skill did not make much difference to his strength compared to before. In other words, after using these 2 secret skills, his power could only reach the pinnacle of the sixth realm. In addition to the power given by the Blood Demon Cave armor, it was 11 times the power of an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. It's good enough to have such power. I can't be too greedy, Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. Then he glanced at the high platform behind him with a complicated look. The high platform in the void behind him had trapped him for 97,000 years. It could be said that this period of time was the longest Jian Wushuang had stayed in. However, during the 97,000 years, he had gained a lot from the high platform, and his strength had soared. It could be said that it was a blessing and a curse. I've been in this space-time for too long. It's time for me to leave. Jian Wushuang let out a sigh of relief, and then flew toward the end of the Golden War God, Wind Demon. At the end of this space-time, a dark and boundless passage had been opened. After arriving here, Jian Wushuang did not hesitate, and directly stepped into the dark passage. This was still the deepest part of Devil's Smoke Valley, but it was no longer an unknown area. 2 figures were moving side by side in the dark and loathsome void. Zhang Yun, you heard that not long ago, a pinnacle true treasure was born in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley. The appearance of this pinnacle true treasure was so shocking that it attracted dozens of experts to fight for it. There were even 3 experts who had reached the limit of the sixth realm. Unfortunately, they did not get the pinnacle true treasure. Instead, it was taken away by the Muddy Sky ruler who happened to pass by, said the gray-robed elder with messy hair. Of course I've heard about such a big thing, said the other middle-aged man with darker skin. Pinnacle true treasures. It's said that most of the warriors at the pinnacle of the sixth realm don't have pinnacle true treasures. Only a few of them are terrifyingly powerful, have heaven-defying opportunities, or have great backgrounds. Only those at the pinnacle of the sixth realm can have one. and they are only attack true treasures. Of course, a true treasure at this level would attract people's covetous eyes. Alas, I don't know when you and I will also have a pinnacle true treasure. You want a pinnacle true treasure? The messy-haired old man in gray robe glanced at the middle-aged man. I don't have that luxury. As long as I can get 1 or 2 top-tier universe true treasures here, I'll be satisfied. It'd be best if I can get a top-tier true treasure armor. Top-tier true treasure armor? I don't know if we'll be able to survive. The two of them were talking leisurely, but when they passed by a cliff, their expressions changed, and they immediately looked to the side. That direction was in the middle of the cliff, and there was a huge black hole emitting endless dark energy. The black hole even formed an unfathomable vortex, as if it wanted to devour everything around it. Seeing this huge black hole, the two were not unfamiliar with it. It's the life and death realm. It's the legendary life and death realm. Ever since this life and death realm was discovered, many experts have entered this life and death realm to roam about. There have even been ruler realm experts who have entered, but as long as they enter, no one has ever been able to walk out alive. The two of them were somewhat shocked by this enormous black hole in front of them. Right now they were only passing by this place. However, they had never thought of entering this realm of life and death to investigate the situation. The reason why they had stopped here was because they had sensed that this realm of life and death had actually produced a rather large ripple. What's going on? Although this realm of life and death is a realm of certain death, it has been very peaceful for a long period of time. I've never heard of any large ripples occurring within the realm of life and death, but now, the gray-robed old man with messy hair frowned. The life and death realm is simply too dangerous. No matter what happens to it, I feel that the two of us should leave as soon as possible, the tan-skinned middle-aged man said. It could be seen that he was indeed too wary of the life and death realm. There's no rush. Let's wait and see. The gray-robed old man waved his hand, and his eyes flickered with a light. There must be something fishy going on. It's true that the life and death realm is extremely dangerous, but the changes it's going through could also be a great opportunity. Opportunity? The middle-aged man was startled. Yes, it might be an opportunity, but it might also be dangerous. However, since we've encountered such a strange change in the life and death realm, how can the two of us just leave like this? No matter what, let's take a look first. If we sense something amiss later, we'll leave, said the gray-robed elder. The middle-aged man nodded as well. The two of them had been adventuring in the depths of Devil Smoke Valley for many years. They had encountered all sorts of dangers before, and they were well aware of the principle of seeking fortune amidst danger. Under normal circumstances, fortuitous encounters would always be accompanied by danger. However, this change in the life and death realm might be dangerous, but it could also be fortuitous encounters. There was indeed no reason for them to leave just like that. Let's go. Let's retreat a little further and watch from a distance, said the gray-robed old man. The two of them immediately retreated until they were quite far away from the life and death realm. Only then did they stop and watch the life and death realm from a distance. At this moment, the life and death realm was emitting a greater and greater commotion. The enormous black hole that had formed a vortex began to tremble crazily. Suddenly, a bloody light suddenly appeared in the originally dark black hole. This bloody light was becoming increasingly dazzling. In the next moment, this bloody light leaped out from the depths of the black hole. Haha, you have finally come out. A hearty laughter reverberated across this place as the bloody light rushed out. When the gray-robed elder and the middle-aged man saw this scene, they were both stunned. This is a human cultivator? The change that happened at the life and death realm was because of him? Did he just walk out of the life and death realm? The two were stunned. Chapter 3582, Greet the Life and Death Realm. Both of them had just said that the life and death realm was a place where death was inevitable. Even an expert at the level of a ruler could not walk out of it alive. But now, someone had walked out of the life and death realm, right under their noses. How could they not be shocked? Wuxia, who had just walked out of the life and death realm, had naturally discovered the existence of these two people. There are actually people here. Could it be that this is no longer an unexplored area? Jian Wushuang frowned. The unexplored area of Devil Smoke Valley was too dangerous and filled with too many unknowns. Therefore, very few cultivators entered it, and the chances of encountering it were very slim. Now that Jian Wushuang saw the two people in front of him, he subconsciously wondered if he was still in the unknown region of Devil Smoke Valley. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang rushed toward the two people. You should be the Grey Python Master and the Death Slayer Master from the Jade River Star World, right? Jian Wushuang looked at the two people in front of him. It's us. The gray-robed elder, the Grey Python Master, stared at Jian Wushuang. Who are you? Bloodsword of Star Palace, Jian Wushuang answered. Bloodsword Master? Grey Python Master and Death Slayer Master both looked at Jian Wushuang carefully. Yes, he is indeed Bloodsword Master. However, didn't he disappear after entering the unknown region? Even Star Palace announced his death? How did he come out of the life and death realm? Grey Python Master was surprised. Jian Wushuang asked, Where are we now? Jian Wushuang really did not know where he was. Even when he saw the huge black hole, he did not recognize it immediately. This is the deep part of Devil Smoke Valley, and the huge black hole behind you is the infamous life and death realm, the Death Slayer Master said. Life and death realm? Jian Wushuang looked at the black hole behind him with a strange expression. He was in the special space-time, but the special space-time was in the unknown region. He did not expect to come directly to the life and death realm after walking out of the passage opened by Wind Demon. Moreover, he came out of the life and death realm. Is the life and death realm connected to the special space? No wonder no one has come out of the life and death realm in such a long time. Jian Wushuang sighed to himself. While he was sighing, the look on the faces of the Grey Python Master and the Death Slayer Master had begun to change. This Bloodsword Master has been missing for nearly 100,000 years. Everyone thought he was dead, but they didn't expect him to be alive and well. Furthermore, he walked out of the life and death realm. What exactly has he experienced during these 100,000 years? What is in the life and death realm? The Grey Python Master narrowed his eyes. Grey Python, what are you thinking about? The Death Slayer Master looked over. What do you think? The corner of Grey Python Master's mouth curled up into a sneer. Without a doubt, this Bloodsword Master must have had a very special encounter in the past 100,000 years. He might even have obtained a great opportunity. Not to mention other things, just the fact that he walked out of the life and death realm is already very worthy of our consideration. And now, you and I are the first to discover that he is still alive and walked out of the life and death realm. This is definitely a once-in-lifetime opportunity for us. You're right. I think so too. Moreover, before the Bloodsword Master went missing, he only had the battle strength of the initial stage of the sixth realm. Even if he had a great opportunity in the past 100,000 years, and his strength increased a lot, with our strength, we should be able to take him down very easily if we work together. The Death Slayer Master also nodded slightly. Since that's the case, then it's decided. The Grey Python Master smiled. The two of them conversed in secret and reached a consensus in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Jian Wushuang cupped his hands and said, Thank you for informing me. Goodbye. After knowing where he was, Jian Wushuang turned around and intended to leave. However, as soon as he moved, Grey Python Master and Death Slayer Master immediately surrounded him and sandwiched him between the left and right. What do you mean by this? Jian Wushuang looked at the two people around him indifferently. Bloodsword Master, you disappeared for nearly 100,000 years. Everyone thought you were dead, but you're still alive. If I'm not wrong, you must have had a very special encounter during these 100,000 years, right? Grey Python Master stared at Jian Wushuang with a strange look. Yes, I have had some strange encounters. Jian Wushuang did not deny it. There was nothing to deny. He had disappeared in the unexplored area for nearly 100,000 years. Anyone could guess that he must have had some strange encounters. Can you tell us about your encounters? The Grey Python Master asked. Just tell you about my encounters over the years? Jian Wushuang looked at the two around him with a playful look. Don't you want me to hand over my interspatial ring and see if I've gotten any great opportunities over the years? If that's the case, it'll be even better. Grey Python Master smiled coldly. He and Death Slayer Master did not try to hide it anymore. There was clearly a hint of greed in their eyes. Upon seeing their expressions, Jian Wushuang could not help but sneer in his heart. He knew their intentions. He had disappeared for nearly 100,000 years in the undiscovered region, but he had walked out of the life and death realm, which meant that he must have had a great opportunity. It was likely that he had obtained a great opportunity, which was something that the Grey Python Master and the Death Slayer Master yearned for. In addition, the Grey Python Master and the Death Slayer Master were both very strong, and their battle strength was close to or even comparable to the pinnacle of the Sixth Realm. Naturally, they thought that they would be able to defeat him if they joined forces. Gentlemen, I advise you to put aside your thoughts and let me go. Otherwise you will regret it, Jian Wushuang said. Regret? Grey Python Master smiled. Bloodsword Master, you think too highly of yourself. With your strength, even if you've had a great encounter over the years, you won't be able to do anything to us. Since that's the case, there's nothing more to say. Since you want to know what happened to me over the years, you can attack me directly. Jian Wushuang waved at Grey Python Master. There was a hint of contempt in his tone. Attack! Grey Python Master and Death Slayer Master did not hesitate. They exchanged glances and attacked at the same time. Chapter 3583. Jian Wushuang's terrifying strength. It had to be said that the Grey Python Master and the Death Slayer Master had a certain amount of strength to rely on when they dared to target Jian Wushuang. Both of them were barely comparable to experts at the pinnacle of the Sixth Realm. Both of them attacked at the same time with their full strength. Boom! Boom! Two shocking auras attacked Jian Wushuang at the same time, one from the left and the other from the right. Among them, Grey Python Master held a strange dark green long whip. The long whip swept like a fled dragon and directly covered Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang did not have any intention of resisting or dodging. He just let the long whip bind his body. It's bound. Grey Python Master's eyes lit up. He did not know why Jian Wushuang did not dodge or block. Perhaps it was because he was too fast and Jian Wushuang did not have time to react. But no matter what, Jian Wushuang was now completely bound by him. There was no chance for him to make a move in a short period of time. On the other side, Death Slayer Master rushed over with a giant axe in both hands. Endless power surged into the giant axe. Boom! The giant axe cut through the air and chopped down at Jian Wushuang in a mighty manner. This axe was Death Slayer Master's most powerful axe. It was also an absolute art at the peak of Stage 6, and its power was extremely powerful. Death Slayer Master's eyes shone brightly when the axe fell. I got it. Grey Python Master also smiled. The two of them were best friends. They often roamed the three battlefields together, so they had a good understanding of each other. For example, this time, the two of them cooperated very well. Grey Python Master immediately tied Jian Wushuang up, while Death Slayer Master used his most powerful move to attack Jian Wushuang. He did not give Jian Wushuang any chance to struggle. Sure enough, the giant axe hit Jian Wushuang's divine body without any obstruction. Clang! A sound like metal colliding rang out. The blood-red robe Jian Wushuang was wearing had a faint blood-red luster, and the power of the axe was reduced by 99% at once. Only 1% of the power was transmitted to Jian Wushuang's body, and he could easily withstand the power. You two work well together. Jian Wushuang stood there quietly with a smile on his face. While speaking, he deliberately blinked at Grey Python Master and Death Slayer Master. How is this possible? Grey Python Master and Death Slayer Master were both shocked. Death Slayer Master's strongest axe had clearly struck Jian Wushuang's divine body. Even if those experts at the peak of Stage 6, who had powerful defensive skills, were to rely on their divine bodies to withstand such an axe, they would at least suffer some damage. But what about Jian Wushuang? He took the blow head-on, but his face remained calm, and his divine body did not move at all. He completely ignored my attack. Death Slayer Master's eyes widened. At this moment, Jian Wushuang smiled again. You've used your tricks. Now it's my turn. As soon as he finished his words, he saw a burst of blood-red light surging on the blood-red robe, instantly giving Jian Wushuang a shocking power. Jian Wushuang's body trembled slightly. The dark green whip that was originally bound to his body was directly pushed back. Jian Wushuang easily broke free from the restraint, and then pulled out the Blood Mountain sword behind him. Yes, he only used the Blood Mountain sword, which was not even an elementary universe supreme treasure. But on the other side, he had already activated the first level of power of the Blood Demon Cave armor. In an instant, 10 times the power of an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm gathered in his hands. And then he directly slashed down with his sword. This strike immediately triggered the universe origin of the sword principle. The unparalleled sword manual Shixiang. Boom! This extremely violent strike triggered the universe origin and instantly formed a shocking blood-red sword rainbow. Its power was even more earth-shattering. It must be known that during the 97,000 years that Jian Wushuang was trapped in the 18 Ultimate Formation, his swordsmanship had received an incredible improvement. In the unparalleled sword manual, these moves of his Jian Wushuang had all reached the level of a level 7 absolute art. The Shixiang move was a level 7 absolute art, which was an absolute art at the ruler realm. In addition, it was performed by Jian Wushuang with the power of 10 times that of an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. The sword instantly slashed toward the Grey Python Master in front of him. The Grey Python Master also waved the long whip in his hand in an attempt to block it. However, the moment the long whip came into contact with the blood-red sword rainbow, it was sent flying. The sword light did not hinder it at all, and it struck the divine body of the Grey Python Master. Grey Python Master was, after all, a great being who was barely comparable to a pinnacle of 6 levels, and his protective ability was not weak. He also had an advanced universe true treasure armor protecting his body. However, when faced with this sword, the result was bang. Grey Python Master's eyes were still wide open. The armor protecting his body was not damaged, but his godly body had been instantly exploded, and all the godly power in his body had been completely annihilated. Not a single bit of it was left. In just a moment, Grey Python Master had died. He's an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. How could he be so weak? Jian Wushuang looked at Grey Python Master, who was already dead, and could not help twitching his lips. He casually took the whip, the true treasure armor, and his interspatial ring that Grey Python Master had left behind. In fact, it was not because the Grey Python Master was weak, but because Jian Wushuang was too strong. The power of an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm was 10 times stronger than that of most experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. In terms of power, Jian Wushuang was no weaker than the 3 masters of the Saint Realm in the Divine Beginning Realm. This was only his own power. However, the swordsmanship that Jian Wushuang had just displayed was a 7th level absolute art at the ruler realm. The 3 masters of the Saint Realm had never mastered such an absolute art. In other words, the strength that Jian Wushuang had just displayed was enough to crush the 3 masters of the Saint Realm in the Divine Beginning Realm. On the other hand, the Grey Python Master was barely comparable to an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. How could he withstand his attack? Naturally, he was killed in one strike. The Grey Python Master is dead, but the Death Slayer Master is fast enough. Jian Wushuang glanced at the surrounding void. When the Death Slayer Master, who had attacked him together with the Grey Python Master, sensed that something was wrong, he immediately retreated. When he saw that Death Slayer Master was killed by Jian Wushuang, he was scared out of his wits. Therefore, he chose to escape without hesitation. Now he was out of Jian Wushuang's sight. Jian Wushuang could not chase after him. I said you would regret it, but you didn't believe me. Jian Wushuang curled his lips and left immediately. He had roamed the 3 battlefields all year round, so there were many strong experts. Now he was like all the strong experts he had met. He had sent the message, so there were about 30 to 40 experts in total. Although most of the experts were not very strong and could not pose a threat to Jian Wushuang, he knew that after these principal's masters heard the news, they would definitely tell him. They would immediately inform their forces or friends of the news. In this way, it would not be long before all the experts in the territory knew about the news. After the news was completely made public, he believed that many experts would be interested in Jian Wushuang. After all, Jian Wushuang was the first expert to emerge from the life and death realm in a long time. No one knew the secrets of the life and death realm until now. Secondly, Jian Wushuang had disappeared in the unknown region for nearly 100,000 years. He had disappeared for 100,000 years. Now that his strength had soared, everyone could guess that he must have had a special encounter in the past 100,000 years. He must have obtained a great opportunity. And who would not be interested in such a special opportunity and great opportunity? He believed that once the news spread out, the entire territory would be shocked and countless experts would be eyeing Jian Wushuang. In addition, he was careful when he spread the news. He only said that Jian Wushuang's strength had soared after he came out of the life and death realm, and that he had killed the Grey Python Master. But he did not explain how Jian Wushuang had killed the Grey Python Master. He was worried that if he spread the news that Jian Wushuang had killed the Grey Python Master in one strike under his, and the Grey Python Master's joint attack, it would scare all the experts as a result. Even though the experts knew that Jian Wushuang had a great opportunity, no one dared to find trouble with him. It could be said that the Death Slayer Master's plan was very clever. The result was just as the Death Slayer Master had expected. However, after the news that Jian Wushuang had walked out of the life and death realm alive, and that his strength had increased drastically spread, the entire territory was in an uproar. All the experts were shocked by the news. They were not shocked that Jian Wushuang was still alive, but mainly because he had walked out of the life and death realm. In addition, Jian Wushuang's strength had skyrocketed. Almost everyone had already determined that Jian Wushuang must have encountered something special and obtained a great opportunity in the past 100,000 years. Such a great opportunity was coveted by countless people. In an instant, a large number of experts directly stared at Jian Wushuang, especially the top experts who had been adventuring in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley. Chapter 3585. All parties were shaken. There was a huge red rock on the top of a huge red peak that seemed to have been burned by fire. This huge red rock had existed on the top of this huge peak for millions of years. During these millions of years, many cultivators had passed by this huge peak. However, when these cultivators saw this huge red rock, they were all filled with fear. Then they quickly went around it. However, today the giant red rock began to shake violently. Then it slowly fell off. A cold and arrogant woman wearing a scarlet armor slowly opened her eyes and stood up. It has been many years since the life and death realm was discovered. No one has ever been able to walk out of the life and death realm. However, this blood sword master actually walked out of the life and death realm alive. Moreover, his strength has greatly improved. He must have obtained an incredible opportunity. I have already stepped into the pinnacle of the sixth realm for an unknown period of time. I have been trapped under this bottleneck for a very long period of time. I have put in endless effort, but I have never been able to advance further. At this moment, I understand that if I want to break through and become a ruler, there is only one way, and that is through opportunity. Only that once-in-lifetime opportunity can help me break through. As for this Bloodsword Master, I might have a chance. The cold and arrogant woman's aura was as cold as ice. She raised her head and glanced at the void in front of her. With one step, she appeared 10,000 li away. An endless storm covered the entire world. This was a famous dangerous place in Devil's Smoke Valley, the Sea of Blood Wind. Although it was a dangerous place, it was a necessary path for the astral world experts, who were closer to the north, to enter the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley. Whoosh! The blood-colored hurricane swept wildly, and a short barefooted youth flew out of the blood-colored hurricane and landed in the void outside. After nearly 100 years, I finally walked out of this godforsaken place. The barefooted youth's face was filled with a smile, and his entire person appeared carefree. However, his gaze was like a gem, bright and spirited. Previously, I was mostly in closed-door cultivation, or adventuring in the other two great battlefields. In the depths of Devil Smoke Valley, I haven't been here for over 1 billion years. It's rare for me to come here this time, so I want to stay here for a period of time. Moreover, that disciple of mine just sent news. It's said that a blood sword master, who has been missing for nearly 100,000 years, has walked out of the life and death realm alive. Life and death realm. Even if a ruler entered that place, there's no chance of survival. He actually survived. Thanks. There must be some special reason. This life and death realm is not far from my location. I can make a trip there. Hopefully, I'll be lucky enough to meet the blood sword master. The barefoot youth smiled wickedly and then strode forward. It was not just the 3 principals masters. All the experts in the deepest part of Devil Smoke Valley were excited when they heard the news. A large number of experts rushed to the life and death realm, hoping that they could meet Jian Wushuang. Then, they would find a way to find out what had happened to Jian Wushuang. If possible, they wanted to figure out what had happened to Jian Wushuang, or even seize the opportunity that Jian Wushuang had obtained. Star Palace had also received the news that had shocked the entire territory. When they had first received the news, the senior experts of Star Palace had been extremely shocked. Blood Sword Master, isn't that Heavenly Sword Marquis? Heavenly Sword Marquis didn't die. Are you kidding me? He entered the unknown region, and has been missing for nearly 100,000 years. Axe 1 Master, Marquis Duanyu, Star Saint Master, and 7 Emotions Master looked at each other in disbelief. Axe 1, send a message to Heavenly Sword Marquis to confirm this news. 7 Emotions Master immediately said. Okay. Axe 1 Master immediately sent a message to Jian Wushuang, and soon received his reply. Axe 1 Master, how have you been? Jian Wushuang was very relaxed. My little friend, is it really you? Are you really alive? Axe 1 Master was very excited. Of course. I'm still alive. Jian Wushuang smiled. I just had some special encounters, and was trapped for a while. Fortunately, I got out of it in time. Good, you're not dead. That's great. Axe 1 Master was pleasantly surprised. You don't know, we thought you had died more than 8,000 years ago, after you completely lost contact with us. We still held on to the last glimmer of hope, but after you lost contact with us for 30,000 years, we lost all hope. We even reported this news to Palace Master, who was very disappointed when he found out. Palace Master? Senior Xianshen? Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. He understood that Star Palace Master, who was Daoist Xianshen, was probably the super expert left behind by the 7-star mysterious sect. He also knew his mission, and that he might be the only hope for the 7-star mysterious sect to rise again. Naturally, he had high expectations of himself. How could Daoist Xianshen not be disappointed when he heard the news of his death? It's good now that you're not dead. If Palace Master finds out about this, he will be very happy, Axe 1 Master said. Jian Wushuang also nodded slightly. By the way, let's not talk about this now. Let's talk about your current situation. My young friend, I'm afraid that your current situation is not good. Axe 1 Master's expression became serious. Not good. What do you mean? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. Let me ask you first. Were you trapped in the life and death realm before? After you escaped, you walked out of the life and death realm. You even met the Grey Python Master and killed him? Axe 1 Master asked. I don't know if I was trapped in the life and death realm, but I did walk out of the life and death realm. I also met the Grey Python Master. However, I met both the Grey Python Master and the Fallen Execution Master. The Grey Python Master really died at my hands, Jian Wushuang said. That's right, AE1 Master said in a deep voice. Although the Grey Python Master died, the Death Slayer Master had survived. In order to take revenge on you, he immediately spread the news that you had come out of the life and death realm alive. Now, everyone knows about it. My dear Heavenly Sword Marquis, you should understand that no one can come out of the life and death realm alive, but you did it. Moreover, you have been missing for nearly 100,000 years. After you reappeared, Your strength suddenly increased so much that you could even kill the Grey Python Master. Chapter 3586. The Target of Public Criticism Indeed. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. If he knew that someone else had such an experience, he would definitely believe that he had obtained a great opportunity. My young friend, there is one more thing you should understand. For those experts who have been wandering in the 3 battlefields all year round, treasures are not the most attractive to them. What really makes them ecstatic are some special great opportunities. Therefore, after you are certain that you have obtained a great opportunity over the years, you are bound to become a target for everyone. Countless experts will be eyeing you. It's not surprising that many experts have already headed in your direction. They are all here for your opportunities. Moreover, among those experts who are eyeing you, there are some top experts who have reached the pinnacle of the 6th realm. There might even be experts at the ruler realm eyeing you. Axe 1 Master said seriously. Ruler. Jian Wushuang's face darkened. For the current him, even Elder Dark Bone, an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm, who had lived for God knows how many years, could not pose any threat to him. As for the other principal's masters, no matter how many they came, he would not care. But he had to be afraid of the ruler realm experts. After all, he could not confront the ruler head-on at the moment. In that case, I'm really in big trouble now, Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. It's not just big trouble. You're in the middle of a crisis. If you're not careful, you might be killed. So you must be extra careful now. Try to hide yourself, or find a place to hide first. I'll immediately report this to the palace master, and see what he thinks, Axe 1 Master said. I'll be careful, but I won't go so far as to hide. Jian Wushuang smiled. It was not because he was too arrogant, but because he knew his current strength and means. Although he had become the target of public criticism, he had to be careful. However, it was not necessary for him to hide. After all, only a Master Realm expert could threaten him. There were not many Master Realm experts, so he did not know whether a master would target him or not. Even if a master did target him, the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley were so big, so it would not be easy for the ruler to meet him. Of course, the most important thing was that Jian Wushuang was not afraid of a ruler. However, if a ruler appeared in front of him and attacked him, he was not afraid because he felt that a single ruler would not be able to kill him. Anyway, I've already told you. You make your own decision. I'll send a message to Palace Master first, Axe 1 Master said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. After the message was cut off, Axe 1 Master could not help but sigh. How is it? Marquis Duan Yu, Star Saint Master, and 7 Emotions Master looked over. Heavenly Sword Marquis, you're still alive. The news that was spread earlier is also true. He walked out of the life and death realm, Axe 1 Master said. That's great. Marquis Duan Yu was overjoyed. He disappeared from the undiscovered region for nearly 100,000 years, and is still alive. Furthermore, he walked out from the life and death realm in the end. This Heavenly Sword Marquis really has some ability. 7 Emotions Master could not help but praise. It's not too early to be happy. After all, Heavenly Sword Marquis is currently in a bad situation. He has already become the target of everyone. I have to report this matter to the Palace Master immediately, and let him decide. Axe 1 Master said. Yes, Palace Master is very powerful. He must have a way to help Heavenly Sword Marquis. Marquis Duan Yu nodded. Axe 1 Master immediately set off to meet Star Palace Master. On the other side, after Jian Wushuang had finished talking with Axe 1 Master and received the exact news from him, his expression became serious. Death Slayer is really good. He spread the news and made me the target of everyone. If I'm not careful, I might die. This way, he can avenge the Grey Python Master. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. At the same time, there are some regrets. If he had known that the Death Slayer Master would bring him so much trouble after he escaped, then when he had been attacked by the Death Slayer Master and the Grey Python Master, he should have killed both of them at the same time. If he had killed the Death Slayer Master at the same time, this trouble would naturally have been gone. Unfortunately, his strength had just soared, and because he had the Blood Demon Cave armor on him, he wanted to test the protective ability of the Blood Demon Cave armor himself. So he did not use his full strength at the beginning. This gave the Death Slayer Master a chance to escape. Now it was too late for him to kill the Death Slayer Master. Forget it. Although the Death Slayer Master has caused me a lot of trouble, I should be able to deal with him now, Jian Wushuang muttered, and then rushed toward the void in front of him. Sacred Island. In the magnificent palace. What did you say? Heavenly Sword Marquis is not dead? On the throne in front of him, the white-haired elder looked down at the principal's master, who was kneeling at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. A terrifying chill instantly rose in his heart. The principal's master, who was at the pinnacle of the sixth realm, was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. However, he still forced himself to say, "My lord, the news has been confirmed. Heavenly Sword Marquis is indeed not dead, and he has survived the life and death realm. His strength has soared. Now the experts of all the forces in the territory believe that he has obtained an incredible opportunity in the past 100,000 years. Many experts have already set their eyes on him." Humph! The white-haired elder snorted and stood up. His eyes were cold and emotionless. "I don't care if he got lucky or not, but the purpose of this trip is to kill him. Now that we know he is not dead, we must kill him immediately." Tong Luo Evil Light. The white-haired elder took out 2 communication tokens and sent them to them. Heavenly Sword Marquis is not dead yet, and he should be near the life and death realm in the core of Devil's Smoke Valley. You two go and kill him immediately. Tong Luo and Evil Light were the other 2 rulers who came with the white-haired elder. The 3 of them came to this territory to kill Jian Wushuang, but because Jian Wushuang had disappeared in the unexplored area, everyone thought he was dead, so they relaxed. The white-haired elder continued to stay on the sacred island, but the other 2 went to the 3 battlefields. Because Jian Wushuang had disappeared in Devil's Smoke Valley, the 2 Master Realm experts also stayed in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley to play it safe. Chapter 3587. The first expert was at the pinnacle of the 6th realm, in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley. "My young friend, I have reported the matter to Palace Master. He is very happy to know that you are still alive. At the same time, he also knows your current situation, so he has sent a message to his good friend to pick you up." Axe 1 Master sent a message. Palace Master's good friend? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. Star Palace Master was a genuine ruler expert, but his good friend was also a ruler, right? Palace Master is not in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley, so it will take him some time to get here. So he asked you to go to Wuxia Lake first, and he will get there as soon as possible, Axe 1 Master said. Wuxia Lake. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He immediately took out the star map and found the location of Wuxia Lake. Wuxia Lake was still some distance away from his current location. At his speed, it would take him at least 3 to 5 years to get there. Tell him that I will get to Wuxia Lake as soon as possible, Jian Wushuang said. Well, be careful, Axe 1 Master said, and then cut off the communication. Then, Jian Wushuang immediately rushed toward the Wuxia Lake according to the directions on the star map. However, because the journey was quite far, he would definitely meet other cultivators on the way. Sure enough, after only 5 days of rushing toward the Wuxia Lake, he met a principal's master at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. The principal's master noticed Jian Wushuang's existence immediately, but he did not rush up to fight Jian Wushuang. Instead, he chose to follow Jian Wushuang from a distance, which made Jian Wushuang's face slightly gloomy. Dragon Swan Master, if you're really capable, you can come up and fight me. But you want fight, you want retreat. What do you want to do? Jian Wushuang stared in the direction of Dragon Swan Master. His low voice had already spread out. Bloodsword Master, you go your own way, I'll go mine. I'm not in your way, what do you care? Dragon Swan Master replied. But in his heart, Dragon Swan Master sneered. Humph, fight you head on? I'm not stupid. Dragon Swan Master knew that Jian Wushuang had killed Grey Python Master. Grey Python Master could be considered an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. Although he was weaker than Grey Python Master, he was not much weaker. However, Bloodsword Master had killed Grey Python Master head-on. It was possible that Bloodsword Master would kill him head-on. Therefore, he naturally did not dare to fight Jian Wushuang head-on. However, as long as he did not face him head-on, he believed that Bloodsword Master would not be able to kill him by following him from a distance. And that was indeed the case. Although Jian Wushuang had the strength to easily kill Dragon Swan Master, his strength was 10 times that of an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm, which was given to him by the Blood Demon Cave armor. However, he was not fast. Compared to Dragon Swan Master, his speed was probably a little slower. His speed was not as fast as Dragon Swan Master, and Dragon Swan Master did not take the initiative to rush forward. He just followed him from afar and kept a distance from him. Of course, Jian Wushuang could not do anything about it. Although Dragon Swan Master can't threaten me, he has been following me. He can spread my whereabouts at any time, and let the experts who have their eyes on me swarm over. Jian Wushuang's expression was a little unsightly, but he soon calmed down. Forget it. Since I'm destined to be unable to hide my whereabouts, I'll just do it openly. I'll let everyone know my location, and let the experts who have designs on me come looking for me. When the time comes, I'll let everyone watch. I, Jian Wushuang, am not someone who can be easily targeted. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Jian Wushuang could not control Dragon Swan Master. And just as Jian Wushuang had expected, Dragon Swan Master followed him and told many people where Jian Wushuang was. After knowing Jian Wushuang's location, the experts who had their eyes on him naturally swarmed over. Time passed, and a month passed in the blink of an eye. During this month, more and more Principal's Masters came to Jian Wushuang's side, but now there were dozens of them. However, among the dozens of Principal's Masters, the strongest was only at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. They all knew that Jian Wushuang had killed the Grey Python Master, so they did not dare to act rashly even when they saw him. The dozens of experts only followed behind Jian Wushuang and did not make a move. They were waiting for more experts to arrive. Once they had a certain lineup, they would join hands to deal with Jian Wushuang. Or an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm would appear. In the eyes of the experts from various forces, if Jian Wushuang could kill the Grey Python Master, his battle strength should have reached the pinnacle of the sixth realm. And if they wanted to snatch the opportunity from him, naturally, the experts at the peak of the six realms had to take action. In the Grey Void, Jian Wushuang was still moving forward at a leisurely pace. His soul power had already spread out, and he could see all the experts around him. There are more and more people coming, but these people alone are not enough. Jian Wushuang smiled lightly. Among the experts, there were only 6 at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. The others had not even reached the pinnacle of the sixth realm. Even if they joined hands, he would not care. At this moment, in the distant void, a vague figure suddenly appeared. At first, the figure was far away, but in just a moment, the figure had arrived in front of Jian Wushuang and blocked him. Jian Wushuang's expression changed, and he stopped walking and looked up at the person. It was a short barefoot youth with a blood-red saber on his back. He had a pair of dark green eyes and looked extremely evil. Finally, a decent expert has arrived. Seeing the person, the corners of Jian Wushuang's mouth curled up slightly. He knew that ordinary experts, even those at the pinnacle of the sixth realm, would not dare to stand in front of him directly, because he had shown that he could kill an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm directly. However, This person dared to stand in front of him directly, which showed that he was absolutely confident in his strength. Jian Wushuang had recognized this person, so he naturally understood why this person was so confident. Bloodsaber Emperor from the Unity Star world is a top expert who has lived for a very long time and reached the pinnacle of the Sixth Realm many years ago. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Although he knew his background, Jian Wushuang was still very relaxed. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.